right-hander, and you see him kind of just try to save that CRG machine a little bit. So it's just kind of staying on the grippiest part of the racetrack. You saw Chandler lose time as well there on the exit of the double right-handers onto the back straightaway, and now going to have to regain his position. Sits in third, Barsh in second, and a lot of the kids who we kind of saw just missing that little bit early on this race, it looks like they found it.
They certainly have. Kimo Ahmad and Marshall Steves also in the hunt here, as it's now going to be about a 6-kart train for the race lead as they head off into turn number 1. Schniegenberg will lead that lap once again. Barsh and Chandler. Let's see if Chandler can try to reciprocate that same situation as he goes a little bit to the bottom of the racetrack, tries to see if he can get that toe he needs. Meanwhile, Schniegenberg breaks away by a couple of kart lanes as Tanner Barsh locks in, keeps his head down, looks over his shoulder. Here comes Chandler down to the bottom of the racetrack, slides back in line, not wanting to push the envelope too much.
And again, they need to be careful with how much they want to fight, especially only 3 minutes into this race, 15 minutes plus 2 laps. Very long main events, and you don't want to risk all too much here. So again, just keeping it clean, keeping it on the black stuff, and just working together as much as you can, and not let Colton Schniegenberg get away like he did yesterday throughout the heat races. I think is the biggest key for Barsh and for Alex Chandler moving forward through this race. Kimo Amatsu staying touch there in 4th. Aston Wyatt has fallen back to 5th here again, and it seems like those gremlins just continuing here, unfortunately, for Wyatt in this Mini Swift main event. Barsh a car length away as we have 3 laps underway.
Here they come down the front straightaway. There you see Kimo Ahmad a little bit by himself. Now we pick up the 121 of Aston Wyatt there in that AR Academy machine as he tries to keep pace here. Falling off a little bit from your top 4. Same thing with Kimo Ahmad as they come through the double right-hander. But for Colton Schniegenberg has already checked out a little bit. Now it's over about 7 kart lanes as Barsh and Chandler go back to battling. This is not what you want to have this early on.
Yeah, but look at that there. Chandler kind of gave a signal to Tanner Barsh, wanted him to lead, and Barsh kind of got back in a line there at the back of the straightaway, pulled off a little bit. So I would expect these two to be working together just a little bit more at this stage of the race, and just kind of putting that aside, because you have to see that you're battling this much, and the gap is starting to open up to Colton Schniegenberg. So just kind of putting that aside and trying to get both of you guys up there together is, I think, the key here. Is if not, Colton's gonna run away with this one just 3 laps into it.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, when they were headed through the S's, you saw how much we see Barsh just trying to get to the inside of Alex Chandler in order to try and still pass, which then lengthened the gap between themselves and Colton Schniegenberg. Kimo Ahmad sitting comfortably. He's not wanting to push the envelope because he knows what's at stake. If these two keep battling, they're going to lose more and more time. It's now over a second now between your leader and the rest of the field.
Let's look at the lap times here. A 108.879 for Colton Schniegenberg, a 109.1 for a 109.3 for Alex Chandler last time by, a 109.022 for Colton Schniegenberg that time around, a 110 for Tanner Barsh. About 7/10, especially with the battling and whatnot, kind of set him a little bit ways back, but 3/10 is what they lost there, kind of battling out a little bit, and the gap just staying the same here. And you see the gap there on the pylon, just about a second at bay for Alex Chandler and Tanner Barsh. And again, the two of them working together, I think, is going to be the key to this one. And Ahmad as well, just consistency, I think, in this class especially becomes that much more imperative. A 109.463 for Ahmad so far in this one. And then more drivers. Simon Klein getting himself into the top 10. It's been a long trek up. Issues for him we saw yesterday with Alex that just either a motor issue or something was amiss on that SFLA Kart Republic. Looks like they have that figured out here today, and looking for a move now for Simon. Jack Klein up to 6th. I think the highest he's been so far this weekend. Side by side with Marshall Steves, Adrian Vargas right behind him as well, looking to get into the mix.
Good little fight right here as we'll see Steves give a little tap on the helmet saying, hey, let's try to work together, see if we can go hunt down those top 5 competitors here. And then you have a couple of more drivers right there behind as Balaksoon in the 152 is trying to keep pace here with the competitors as they work their way down across the circuit, heading over towards the back straightaway here. So far, everyone's just going to mind their P's and Q's, and as just I say that, here comes Simon Jack Klein down to the bottom of the racetrack to take the spot away from Marshall Steves.
Yeah, Simon Jack Klein able to get through that time around, so he's able to make the move there. Everybody else single file line all the way throughout. Balkasoon, the driver currently in 9th, looking to close down his gap. Theo Mitchell as well in 10th for the MSO Racing Team, getting himself inside of the top 10. Look at the gap up ahead for the lead. It's about a second still. Alex Chandler holding strong. Lap times, again, a 109.2 for Schniegenberg, a 109.2 as well for Alex Chandler, and Barsh just a 10th quicker but they're going to need a little bit more if they want to close down that gap. Running the same lap times obviously isn't going to help you out that much, and this is exactly what they needed to see, right? Barsh was that 1/10 quicker, was able to get ahead of Alex Chandler the last time, this time around, I should say, and now he moves up in a second, and it's just, turning. This race is still long. Chandler was really quick in the early parts of this race. The second part is going to be a different thing, and we'll see as it continues to progress, and we'll see if Tanner Barsh can close down that gap to Schneegenberg and bring more guys up there with him.
He's going to have to try to and do it quickly here if he wants to make up that time, because last time by Schneegenberg sets personal best lap here for the action as we watch on 7.5 minutes plus an additional 2 laps to go for our competitors. I think it's safe to say Barsh and Chandler are just trying to settle down a little bit, get back into that rhythm, cool off the tires just a hair, and then maybe try to go on to the attack again with maybe 3 to 2 minutes left to go in this race.
Yeah, time's starting. We're almost at the halfway point here, Taylor. About 7 minutes to go left in this race, and we've already seen a lot. We saw a pretty busy start to this one as well, and then unfortunate here for Aston White. We talked about the gremlins he's kind of been facing, and it seems evident right now. And this kid, the speed that he's had so far this year is definitely not a representation of what we're seeing today, especially. So unfortunate for Aston White, and sadly, that's our sport, right? That's racing. You have good days like he did in Orlando, and then days like this where it just doesn't fall your way. And you see Simon Jack Klein really closing that gap there on the back straightaway and as well in the double right-hander. So we'll see if Simon can get himself into the top 5. Going to be a tough battle there with Aston White here in a couple of moments as that gap continues to close on the back straightaway. Halfway point through this race, and 6.5 minutes to go.
Keep an eye on this battle between Wyatt and Klein here, and then you got Marshall Steves closing back in on this 3-car battle for the 5th position, the final step of the podium for these competitors here as they work their way over towards the hairpin corner. Getting in there, working their way through, and so far everyone's just going to try to stay single file, see if they can catch up to Kimo Ahmad. They've still got a little bit of work to do. About a second is the difference between these 2 drivers and Kimo, and just as I say that, here goes Simon Jack Klein into the top 5. Marshall Steves trying to follow suit. Could not make it work for him. He'll slot back into line as they make the run down the front straightaway. Tap of the helmet for Klein as he tries to see if he can get Wyatt to work with him.
Yeah, we look back up at the race lead here for a second, just looking at the times as this battle continues to go on your screen here. 109 flat there for Colton Schneegenberg the last time around, and 109.1 for Tanner Barsh. And that's just, that's a scary sight. Schneegenberg continuing to open up that gap, so it's going to be hard. It's a huge task at hand for Barsh to try and close down that gap here at this stage of the race as battling still continues, and we'll see what the MSO driver can do as this race continues to go on. But again, you talk about the you have to be at least 2/10 quicker to try and close down that gap, and time's running out here. 5 minutes to go left in this race, plus 2 laps. Barsh is definitely going to be pushing here in the mixed conditions, but again, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to try and get up there to Colton Schneegenberg in this race. He's been just that little bit better than the rest of the field and had that upper hand so far this weekend. We saw it in the heat races. We saw his pace, and it's flourishing here in the main event as well as Aston White and another battle. Adrian Vargas, Marshall Steves there as well. So it's just survival mode from this point on, and think about the championship ahead as well for Aston White, trying to solidify the best position possible. But at the end of it, we're sure we're going to see his pace kind of come back in the year, and this is just kind of an anomaly that we're seeing here. But again, this just keeping the best position possible as these 2 kids behind are pushing. Adrian Vargas now going to look for a move, looking on the inside. He's going to get clear in a 6th, as well as Marshall Steves now going in on Aston Wyatt. So continues to lose spots here. Steves looking again. He's able to get clear. So the AR Academy driver just falling like a rock here, Taylor, unfortunately.
Yeah, a tough break right here indeed for Wyatt, who's trying to get back on the attack with Steves to take over that position, but it is not going to work out for him. I'm curious to see how the handling is on that kart, because he is not able to, as he will put the bumper to the back bumper of Marshall Steves, move him out of the way to get the spot away for the moment as Steves tries to go back on, and there you see the 133 of Vargas just seeing if anyone will give him help, but no one's close enough really to help him out to chase down your top 5 competitors.
Yeah, everybody's still kind of staying stagnant here, and this is the closest battle that we have. Balkasoon just in 9th there, looking to get closer to this, and he just needs more more drivers to start to fight. Theo Mitchell as well there in 10th, and Ailey Vargas to Hale to Silas Root, Jack Cowell, Moravietz. An issue for him, not able to close this one out.
There goes Wyatt.
And there goes Aston Wyatt. Unfortunate for Aston Wyatt. And again, just a day that started off pretty bad and just got worse outside of the top 10 now for Aston. And just, again, unfortunate. But the battle for the lead here, Tanner Barsh was able to take about 0.04 of a second off the gap of Colton Schneekenberg, who, again, consistency flourishing here in this one. Just 109 consistent, a 108.9 a lap prior. So hitting his marks, keeping it out in front, and staying focused out there on the racetrack. Barsh throwing everything at it right now to try and close down his gap, but just can't. And taking a look back there in the background, Aston Wyatt dove into the pits. And again, just an unfortunate end to a day that didn't start off best and just ended in the worst way possible. So Barsh going to be out of this one early. And for everybody else still looking for a place on the podium, Kimo Amon just ways back and forth. And the closest battle right now is the one you're seeing here for the lead. Schneekenberg and Barsh continuing to push with just under 2 minutes to go left in this one. And again, for Barsh, the lap time is again a 109.4, so you're seeing it kind of fluctuate just a little bit. It's a 109 flat, then it goes back down to a 109.4, so it's just a half a second every lap, and that's what you really can't afford when Schneekenberg is putting in flyer after flyer after flyer with consistent lap times. And yeah, but this kid has come so far as well. I mean, you talk about his development throughout the years, and at the Supernats was fastest in his group and got himself into the mix into a good couple of battles, kept it clean on his first running of the Supernats last year with the CRG team. And again, he's going to be one to watch as well as this year continues to progress. And you talk about the leader as well, of Colton Schneekenberg and all the work he's put in to be up there at the front, to be up at the front as well overseas at many rock events and at WSK series. It's been a lot of work as well to get to this point, and it's been seat time after seat time after seat time, sacrificing school time with the family on times where he's gone overseas as well. And funny enough, this kid started with the team that's right behind him, right? With Massimo Sanchez Lara started there, progressed into GWR shortly after. And to see this kid's progression over the years and to see his maturity as well has been a good thing for little Chuck, as they like to call him, as he goes around. Just 30 seconds left in this race, and this will be a good ways back. It's been a long time since this kid's been on the top step of the podium, and he's been going at it. Bad luck as well for him all last year, and it's been work. He's been hard at work to get back up there. And again, when you work hard enough, one day the results will come, and hopefully for him, with 2 laps to go this next time around, hopefully that day is today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like to be the case here for the Gillard Kart GWR with Colton Schneekenberg, as he will come around. It's going to be close. We might get the 2 to go signal. No, I don't think so. I don't see the flagman out there with the popsicle sticks in the air just yet. So it will just barely make it there. So we should get the 2 to go signal next time by.
Just beat it by a half a second there, Colton Schneekenberg. So he's going to get 3 more laps around this racetrack. Just has to keep it on the asphalt, has to keep it on the black stuff. And for the kid right behind him, just still continuing to push and continuing to try and close down that gap. A good lap the last time around, a 108.8. But again, those up and down laps kind of not falling into his hands here. A good battle brewing up here for 4th. Kimo Amon, Simon Jack Klein have found each other on the racetrack on the back straightaway. They're yet to come here, and you see Amon just trying to hold off Simon Jack Klein with 2 laps to go, trying to hold on to a top 5 on his first mini Swift start. And that run there on the exit of the corner, not going to fall into his hands. Simon Jack Klein comes in and swoops away the 5th spot there from Kimo Amon. 2 drivers who have had an uphill climb, an upwards climb all weekend long here, Taylor.
They certainly have, and they are going to do battle here. Klein now getting that 4th spot away from Kimo Ahmad as they now try to work their way down the short chute to the last couple of corners of turn 13 and 14. So far, not going to work out. Kimo tries to get back onto the bumper of Simon Jack Klein, but it is not going to come to his avail. He will get the 2 to go signal this time by as he tries to deal with the big push right there, big shove to the back bumper of Simon Jack Klein as Kimo Ahmad tries to see if he can find the opening. Not close enough to do it as they come through 4 and 5.
Yeah, and again, just a quick little look at the lead here. 109.2 for Schneekenberg last time by, 108.9 for Tanner Barsh. Just needs 2 more laps of that, and he can probably get himself up there, but trouble for somebody. Colton Schniegenberg, no, still on the track, but that gap is a lot closer here. That's about a car length, and again, we talk about that gap was closing down. I was just kind of looking at it here. Tanner Barsh within a real shot of the race lead here. Schniegenberg going defensive into turn number 11. Trouble for the GWR machine. The Gillard falling under fire into turn number 14. Looks to his right. Tanner Barsh is on the left, on the inside. He's clear into turn 13. Schniegenberg looking to go back. It's all going to boil over here when we come to the white flag side by side for the lead of the race. Tanner Barsh opens that gap by a good margin here, Taylor, with 1 lap to go.
It all comes down to this one more time as they work their way through the S's of turn 2 and 3, heading up to the top of turn 4 and 5. Here comes Schniegenberg with a big run down towards the back straightaway as they make the run down. Here comes Schniegenberg. He's going to try, but the defensive line goes to Tanner Barsh as they head down the back straightaway into the braking zone of turn number 6. Schniegenberg looks to the inside, not able to make it stick. He now clears. Crossover, though, for Tanner Barsh.
Beautifully set up there by Tanner Barsh to set up that over-under. Schniegenberg looking on the inside. These are 2 kids that grew up at North Texas Carters in Dallas, Texas, have had a lot of battles on the racetrack together, and they have another one here on the regional circuit. Tanner Barsh and Colton Schniegenberg coming out of Dallas, Texas, looking on the inside. Schniegenberg looking to block low. Barsh looking to set up an over-under side by side on the exit into turn number 12 we go. The final time around for the CRG boys and for the GWR team. Barsh looking on the inside. He's able to get clear in a 14. It's going to be a drag race all the way to the finish line. Colton Schniegenberg looking side by side. They make a little bit of contact. Barsh has enough run. Hard fought, but his race win comes in Mini Swift. Barsh wins in Houston.
And that is why we run the full distance and never say never when it comes to who will come out on top. There you see some of the CRG boys giving a big happy hugs and everything like that.
There you see in Barsh, Tanner's dad, happy about that win. What a start to the weekend. What a race. And those 2 kids have got to be proud with the show they just put on for us. That was, I think, a good display by those 2. A lot of respect shown and a lot of battle shared for the 2 of them there as well. Tanner Barsh, the first win of the weekend. Colton Schniegenberg across the line second. Alex Chandler, your top 3, your podium in Mini Swift. Back to Simon Jack Klein and Kimo Ahmad.
Moving on to P6, it's going to be Adrian Vargas and then Marshall Steves in 7th, Theodore Mitchell 8th, Nico Balak-Soon in 9th, followed by Nayeli Vargas in 10th, Benton Hale 11th, Jensen Willander 12th, Jack Cowell in 13th, Silas Root and Aston Wyatt rounds out 15th position.
Unfortunate DNF there again for Aston Wyatt, but we just saw Mini Swift. We are now set to see some of your youngest drivers hit the racetrack. Micro Swift coming up next, and again, you're not going to want to miss any of this racing action. What a start to the weekend, I shouldn't say the weekend, what a start to the main events here with the Mini Swift class. So more set to come your way here. Micro Swift's getting ready to push out. Let's look at your starting lineup here for your Micro Swift drivers. It's been all about Brody Stoffel so far this weekend, but Brody Brown looking to take the fight there on row number 1. Tyler Blackwood as well. Really good pace for him so far this weekend. He's starting on row number 2 alongside Bo Wyatt.
Moving on to row number 3, we'll see Wyatt White with Bodie Beyer in 6th position. Ajax Capitan Garando is going to be in 7th with Beckley Anderson in 8th position.
Dusty Strayer starting on row number 5 alongside Adam Torrealba. Hayden Sampson and Wiley Lee from San Francisco starting on row number 6.
Moving on into the final 2 rows is Sebastian Kim in 13th with Shep Sullivan in the 14th position. Row 8, we'll see Rodolfo Garza and Aiden Oyak in 16th.
It's time to get this one underway here. The Bennick boys have been fast. The CRG boys have been fast as well so far to start off the weekend. And we'll see if Blackwood and if Brody Brown can work together to get themselves up the order here. Shep Sullivan in there as well, looking to get into line. That's Tyler Blackwood. My apologies there. Getting himself into line there as well after the commitment cone. Again, just got to be careful with that. And pushing and shoving already. We're getting ready to get going here in this one. And Birdie Stoffel has him on a crawling pace here. Again, he sets the pace. Brown looks over, gets that one ready to get going. But a lot of pushing and shoving as we get going here in this one. Into the tram lines we go. Micro Swift getting set to go green. Green flag in the air. We are racing here in Micro Swift. A good start by the inside line. Blackwood able to get himself up in a second. Stoffel up in the lead of this race. Brody Brown in a third. And Blackwood tripped up there on the exit of turn number 3. Everybody able to make it through the first couple of corners.
Everyone now going to try to get lined up single file as they head down the back straightaway. There you see the two machines of Blackwood and Brown trying to work their way through into the braking zone. The 217 trying to work with his teammate as they goes wide a little bit. That's going to be a little bit of an issue to where they could lose ground on that CRG of Stoffel as they work their way through the S's. Everyone now not trying to push too much. This is a time where we can see how well they can work their way through in these opening laps that maybe try to work together and not have the same issue like we saw in the previous main event.
Yeah, and again, just a little bit of a difference in speed there in the first one, which allowed some drivers to get away. Some good battling there further back in the field. Bodie Byer just made a move. The kid from Waco, Texas, on Wyatt White. He was able to get clear for that move. Ajax Capitan Garduno, some good speed here to start off the day as well, as he's able to get some moves done there. And we work our way through that time onto the front straightaway. Stoffel, your leader by half a second. They're further back. Bo Wyatt right behind Ajax, and they continue to work their way through. And there's a 210 of Bodie Byer, like I was saying, made a move there on Wyatt White, who sits in 7th. And everybody else further back as well, following along. Dusty Strader 8th, Torrealba 9th, and Sampson, your top 10 so far in this race.
So far, so good here as they work their way through. And you watch this battle for the 4th position down to the bottom of the racetrack. There you see the 210 of Byer trying to snake his way through for the spot. Then you'll have the 241 machine right there of Wyatt trying to follow through as Capitan Garduno trying to hold on as he is the meat in this sandwich, trying to work his way through. But so far, that 210 machine of Byer really kicking up the notch a little bit.
Yeah, Bo Wyatt there looking for a move. Nice slide job there, looking on the inside of Ajax Capitan Garduno. They're going to go side by side. Ajax not wanting to give him space. Bo Wyatt going to work his way through. He's able to get clear. And Ajax did not make that easy there for Bo Wyatt at all for the 4th spot. Bo up another spot, up in a 4th. And further back, Wyatt White now with a shot looking on the outside in 7th there, wanting to get himself inside of the top 5. The gap for the lead continuing to open up 0.6 of a second now, just over half a second. And Brody Brown still sits in 3rd with Byer just about a 1.5 seconds back.
So quiet right now on the drivers up at the front of the field. Everyone's separated inside your top 3 by about 3 kart lengths or more. And then we're just still watching this battle here between Garduno as well as Wyatt as they try to hunt down Bodie Byer as they come through the S's here. Wyatt gets a good run, trying to see if he can slowly get a toe off the back end of the 210 CRG.
Yeah, Bodie Byer still working his way along, and Bo Wyatt still right behind him. These two kind of looking, and you see Wyatt trying the same move he tried on Ajax Capitan Garduno the lap before, and just not enough space to have the two of them kind of go side by side on the exit there. Byer able to hold on, able to get through, and gets tripped up a little bit there on the exit of 14, and a 15 now onto the main straightaway. And again, we talk about consistency. We saw it last race there with Schneegenberg, and an unfortunate mistake at the end. Those nerves start to kick in, and it gets just that little bit more nerve-wracking. But again, that move there by Wyatt, by Byer, definitely not going to help out at all. The nice little slide on the exit of the double right-hander into turn number 4. That's going to lose him that little bit of time that gives Bo Wyatt just that little bit of life as well on the back straightaway. Allows him to close in. They go side by side now. Bo on the outside, Byer on the inside. A little bit of wheel hanging on the exit, and what a move by Bo Wyatt, able to hold on to it, able to get clear, and again, was on the outside and able to get the inside for the double rights, and that's exactly how you get that move done.
It is absolutely how you make it work here. And for the driver of Bo Wyatt, he is just trying, slides it a little bit into the hairpin, gathers it back up, which then allows the driver of Bodie Byer now to get a good run down the short chute, Wyatt looks over the shoulder to make sure to see where Beyer is, and here he goes down to the bottom of the racetrack. Little bit of contact. That'll push Wyatt up the track a little, but gives him the outside advantage to get that toe he needs to take over position on the front stretch.
Yeah, nice little display by these two drivers here, putting on a show for us. Beyer as well, who moved up from the Kid Kart class and has really come alive, but he goes around. Bodie Beyer goes around on the double right-hander. He's facing the wrong way. Unfortunate end for Bodie Beyer, who was well inside of the top 5. Rejoins the racetrack, but man, a really good drive. Unfortunately for the kid from Waco. Goes around on the double right, just lost the rear, couldn't hold on to it. And with a lot of work to do for him to get back up to where he was earlier on in this race. The battle for the lead here, closing down just a little bit. Lap times looking pretty good for Tyler Blackwood here as well. 109.5 the last time around for Tyler Blackwood. Stoffel 109.6. So not opening up all too much. And this kid's kind of been chipping away at it all weekend long. Has given Stoffel some pretty good shots so far this weekend. At the start of the heat races, and Stoffel ultimately has had to work his way back and chipped away at it to get back up to the front. But again, a huge task at hand. What did lap times look like this time by? Similar. A little faster, 0.04 of a second faster for Brody Stoffel compared to Tyler Blackwood in his Bennick machine. So lap times again starting to vary here a little bit, but still very, very consistent for the two drivers out in front, Taylor.
Absolutely, as we watch on here as one driver went off over
Beckley Anderson, unfortunately, off the racetrack here, just on the inside of the boot, who went off the racetrack. So unfortunate there for Beckley as well, who found herself up the order, up in a 14th, just about. Beyer rejoins in 11th, so one spot to make up if he wants to get back into the top 10. So just unfortunate there for Bodie, really, and for some of the other kids as well. Just in third, Brody Brown has had a pretty good job. Again, we saw this kid last year giving us some great battles in the Honda Kid Kart class, which is now 206 Kid Kart this year, and moved up before the end of the year. And had some good showings over at DKC with the Bennick team, and was putting himself up there. And now a full national schedule for Brody this year, and he's been hard at work. A lot of testing, a lot of races, and a lot goes into getting this kid ready to go out there and race. One of the younger drivers in this field, so he's been pushing at it, and I will say probably one of the coolest helmets out there as well.
Yeah, really good run for him in that Bennick machine as he tries to keep pace with his teammate of Tyler Blackwood as they work their way down. Last time by, it was almost about 1/10 of a difference between Brody Stoffel and Tyler Blackwood. Gap is now just under a second, 0.8 of a second to be exact, as they snake their way over to the S's. Little we watch on here with Brody Brown as he tries to work his way through. A little further back, we watch Garduna, White, and Strayer battling for that 5th position. There you see Garduna trying to hold on to 5th spot with White right there in trying to work his way through. Gets a good run as we watch Garduna hit the entrance of that hairpin. He's got a little bit of pressure, though, coming from behind as we go a little further back to the 291 of Hayden Sampson in the TB kart.
Yeah, Hayden Sampson, a good drive so far inside of the top 10 here for Hayden. As well, and you see him going side by side there with Wiley Lee, looking on the inside for the 201. He's able to get clear, and Hayden Sampson gets a shove from behind. That sends him around and facing the wrong way, in contact there for the 277. Just kind of gets collected, and those two, Torrealba was the driver who went in and just didn't see that. So unfortunate end to his race, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue. He's looking to rejoin the racetrack in a safe manner, but unfortunate end there to his race, as the officials are going to help him out. And yeah, unfortunate to end that front end broken on that Charles Leclerc machine. So that's going to be the end of this one there for Torrealba.
Tough break right there. He was having a decent run inside the top 10 before that contact. So an unfortunate situation here as we watch the two CRG's machine of Lee along with Bodie Beyer as they try to see what they can do. They're going to try to hunt down Strayer up ahead in 7th position.
To take a look back here at something that happened actually on the racetrack. Brody Stoffel dropped back to 3rd. We just missed it there. No idea what happened to Brody Stoffel, but he just fell back to 3rd. Your new leader, Tyler Blackwood, in the lead of this race. We had just missed it there on our cameras, but Brody Stoffel back in third. No idea if it was a mistake or something. Must have been for him to fall back to third, and a lot of work to claw his way back. 5 minutes left in this race. He's been that little bit faster, and indeed had to be some sort of mistake or an off-track excursion for Brody Stoffel. 1:14 the last time around on a 1:10 for Blackwood and a 1:10.7 for Brody Brown as well. That gap at 2.7 seconds. So a lot of work for him to do here on the 8th lap. An unfortunate mistake there, but that's a huge mountain to climb here with just under 5 minutes to go, Taylor.
Yeah, I'm watching to see how the kart is looking right now. I mean, it's somewhat okay at the moment. He was having a little bit of issues going a little too wide in the double right-hander over here in turn 7 and 8. So I don't know if something might have just, when he went a little too wide, he could have done the same thing over maybe in turn 4 and 5, which may have lost control of it. And if he goes a little bit wider right there in 14, now we'll see what the lap time shows for him as he comes across the line. Because he pick it up a little bit. 109 for your race leader. 109.8. So he's currently going back up into full song. So I think he might have been a victim of turn 4 and 5 again.
It's something, right? But a 109.8 here for Brody Brown. And he's definitely closing that gap down a 109.8 for Brody Stoffel. Brody Brown ran a 110.1. So Stoffel definitely closing that gap down for second. But Tyler Blackwood looking for his first national race victory. Would be the first to my knowledge here as well on what could be one of his, I'm sure he ran last year, but Tyler Blackwood on the hot seat right now. We saw it happen with Colton Stiegenberg. We saw it happen with Brody Stoffel. And again, just leading around this place, right? You're the first one to get to that corner of the racetrack. Everything's new for you, and everybody else is seeing kind of what you're doing and setting down the markers. So Blackwood now the new leader here, and we'll see. Just got to keep it on the black stuff here, Tyler, and hold on to it for just 3.5 minutes to go. And the black flag coming out for one driver there for the back, the 220 of Sebastian Kim, who is about to get lapped by Tyler Blackwood here coming up shortly. But this kid, a pretty good showing so far here, and into the double rights we go, and just no idea what could happen there to Stoffel as he continues to close in on Brody Brown. Half a second that time by, so he's going to be a lot closer this time on the back straightaway.
And we're going to go back a little bit now to Carduna as well as White here, who's going to get a good run as they work their way down the back straightaway. White going to drop back in line. Carduna trying to pull away here in that speed concept machine as he works his way to the braking zone. Has a good little bit of an advantage at the moment, but here comes White to the bottom. He will make the pass. Crossover coming into play now for Carduna as he will try to capitalize on that. White going to put more pressure on him in the double right-hander, and they make more contact, and White finally comes out on top.
Yeah, that was a clean move there by White into turn number 6. And again, they hooked bumpers for what seemed like a very long time there, Taylor. And now, a little pushing and shoving. Gardino to the rear bumper there of White on his red speed. White finally able to get ahead and hold on to it for now. Battle for second, still heating up, getting a little closer that last time around. A 109.8 for Stoffel, 110.1. And Blackwood continuing to set 109.4. So his lap times continuing to progressively improve. A huge mountain to climb for the two drivers right behind him.
A little bit of a warning right there for Carduna from race officials there as they come around the start-finish line. So normally when we see that in oval track, short track racing, a little bump and run, we don't really frown upon that. But
but I see why. I mean, there was a little bit of crowding, especially on the exit of turn number 7 and on the double right. So, rightfully so, a warning there for Garduno. I just can't do it again. And this time looking on the inside into turn number 6. He's able to get clear. Wyatt now setting up that over-under. If he can keep it on the outside, it may be a move, but not enough traction there, especially Garduno stays ahead, and into the double rights we go.
He's trying to show the nose right there as they come out of the double right-hander, but not close enough to try anything right here as they head down towards the hairpin. And watching on here as we have battling here for second place as Brody Stoffel has caught up to Brody Brown as they come across the start-finish line.
Yeah, already they were side by side there on the exit, going into turn 15 and just locked bumpers there for a little bit. Brody Brown looking to keep a Bennick 1-2 and a wider line compared to Stoffel's. That time around, the two of them just losing touch once again with Tyler Blackwood, who's absolutely running away with it here. Been consistent lap after lap, and that kid is continuing to stay ahead here. So we look still, Stoffel Brown, 30 seconds to go left in this race.
They should be getting the 2-to-go signal this time by as we watch your battle for second place. Brown trying to make sure he can make it a Bennick 1-2 for this battle for position as they come down towards the short chute, heading over into the hairpin. Down into the braking zone, what will Brody Stoffel do? Sends it in deep, goes try to arc it a little bit to get a better run off corner exit, and he does. He's got a big run down the short chute, looks to the inside, and Brown tries to cover, can't make it work. That's not going to be quite good.
Yeah, just
don't want to be doing that.
Stoffel now looking back there side by side with Brody Brown, and again, just Brown's got to be careful with moving on the straightaway like that time around. Onto the main straight, and the two of them still continuing to battle. Blackwood just kind of checking out at this point. 2 laps to go this time around. 2 laps left in this race here, Taylor.
Yeah, that was very aggressive run right there. Let's see what happens here down the back straightaway. What will Stoffel do? He tries to see if he can get a good run into turn 6. Not close enough to try anything here, but he has been strong through the S's here as he shows the nose to the inside. Can he cross over to get that run that he needs through the double right-hander? Nope, not going to work this time.
2 laps to go there for the rest of the field, and these two drivers continuing to fight for the second spot on the podium. And again, if you think about points, you don't want to risk it all too much.
Here we go.
As there goes Brown. Stoffel on the inside, looking to get clear. He goes around. Just sent it a little too deep. And you can see the frustration just kind of boiling over there, unfortunately, for Brody Stoffel on a day that was, started off really good in this main event and just not ending the way that he would have wanted. Brody Brown holds on to the second spot, and that gap opens up for them. Nobody else close. But for Tyler Blackwood, was there when it mattered most, has been consistent all the way through, has started to tone it down just a little bit, has gone almost half a second slower than what he did earlier on in this race. He was running 109.4s and has toned it back to 109.8s this last time around, and you can almost imagine the nerves start to set in on what could be a maiden regional race victory, to my knowledge, especially here this weekend for Tyler Blackwood. Just half of the racetrack to go for this kid on what's a weekend where he's definitely come to life here with the Bennick team, and just a couple of corners to go here.
Couple of more corners for Tyler Blackwood as he just works his way into the braking zone. No pressure from behind. He just needs to keep it on the pavement, and he will succeed in victory for the season opener of the winter warm-up for the Texas Sprint Racing Series as they enters into the final couple of corners. Tyler Blackwood and Bennick go 1-2 here at SpeedSportz.
Tyler Blackwood wins in Houston at the opening round here at the winter warm-up. A hard fought and a very, very consistent drive by that kid. In second place, Brody Brown. Brody Stoffel, unfortunate end, but a P3. Good in the long run for the championship. Bo Wyatt across the line here shortly, coming across in fourth, and a huge battle there further back. Wyatt White and a couple of other drivers going side by side, and Ajax Capitan Garduno in that one as well, side by side. Dusty Strayer looking to hold on to it. He does. Dusty Strayer up in a fifth. He rounds up your top 5. And they're wrecking and into the puddle there for Dusty Strayer. Unfortunately, what an end to this one here. That battle, very good there at the end of it with Bo Wyatt, Dusty Strayer, Garduno, Wyatt White, and more. And looks like a penalty post-race there for Brody Brown, and it could have been for that move there on the straightaway. Again, we thought that's what it was. Brody Stoffel, second place, provisionally here, again, pending post-race tech. But Tyler Blackwood, your race winner here in Micro Swift. Pickup getting set to go underway. Dusty Strayer is beached, but a top 5 finish nonetheless. We're back with Shifter Racing action on the other side.
All right, stop. For just over $200. I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready. Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask your question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Engines are fired here for the shifter class as we get set to go green. And again, my apologies there, missing some of our sponsors here. Gallery Furniture, Micro Swift was presented by Gallery Furniture, Mini Swift by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, Shifter by Arcane Motorsports, and one of their drivers, Noah Zars, starting on the front row alongside CRG Nordham's hometown Aiden Rudolph. They're going to share the front row, and again, a clean start up ahead for these two drivers and a couple of more. Alfred Alvarez Castillo making it out to the racetrack on what was a day almost off for him yesterday. Mechanical issues put him out of it. Focus was on the K100 class, and now today, starting from the back of the pack, a lot of work to do for him. Noah Zars, Rudolph share row number 1, John Paul Mocurry, and Derek Proctor on row number 2.
Moving on into the final three cars is going to be Jeff Mills with Luis Mendez, and Alfred Alvarez del Castillo will be your 7 karts on track here today.
And again, yesterday, issues and I think gremlins plagued Luis Mendez's third heat race to end the night, which didn't really give him a good enough shot, but he has shown some promising pace so far. Top 3 pace for him as well so far. John Paul Mocurry, only 14 years old, looking for his first shifter podium here this weekend. And considering the competition ahead of him, that'd be a really good podium to share with those two drivers. So I'm sure Miguel, his coach, happy to watch him on from home as he gets set to take the green flag here on what's his first regional shifter start in main event racing action. Again, moving up from 206 Junior up to shifter, and we love to see that, right? We love to see kids get up into our main classes here. But that front row, a little wet on the inside, a little dry on the outside. See where Noah Zars decides to go, and a full lap for these drivers to get everything up to temperature, those engines up to temperature, the tires up to temperature as well. And again, that's what Derek Proctor was kind of talking to me about yesterday. He said he struggled just on getting everything up to temperature, and this extra lap is, I think, going to benefit that just that little bit more.
Absolutely. So we're going to see how... Oh, we got trouble for one kart.
Oh,
it goes around.
Alfred Alvarez del Castillo. Gremlins continue and cannot catch a break here on the outlap and just over pushing it. And I think that's going to be it for him here in this one. Not going to be able to go back around. Unfortunate there for Alfred Alvarez Castillo, getting him up and out of the go-kart and onto the racetrack to try and get him started again. But 2 off-track excursions here for Alfred early on, and just a soaked Sunday morning for Alvarez Castillo. But the rest of the drivers working on the main straightaway, they're going to look to push Alfred back on the racetrack. He's able to get going, and again, it just looks like he was just pushing it just that little bit too much. And they may be stalled on the grid for a little bit till Alfred gets back up there. So just got to be careful with that. But we'll see what side Noah's Ark decides to go on. Looking on the outside there for Noah. Rudolph going to go on the inside. Talked about positioning his go-kart. The starts. He has nobody ahead of him now. We'll see what he can do here in this one. Everybody getting gridded up, and we'll see if Alfred can get up there to the front of the grid in time. He's coming around the infield section right now, and they're just going to wait for him to get going here as well and into his grid spot. So
that's right. They didn't let him just cut through right over here in this middle, cut through right there in the back where he can get over here quicker.
I don't know, man. I'm not a race director, so
well,
I don't know.
I know.
Have to ask Mr. Darren McDonough or Robert Venable, who are joining us this year as race directors, partnering up. And so far, a smooth sailing day weekend for the two of them. But here we go. Alfred Alvarez Castillo onto the grid now, and we get set to go green in shifter racing action. We look at the flag. Noah's Ark, Aiden Rudolph on row number 1 in shifter racing action. Give the whole shot side by side to Aiden Rudolph, who's able to get it done, goes to the lead of this race. Noah's Ark in second. Derek Proctor, a good run off the line. John Paul McCurry struggled. He still sits back in the 3rd spot, able to get through. And those two drivers now that you get 3 further on back, a little good battle there. Luis Mendez, John Paul McCurry, side by side on the back straightaway. Rudolph leads the field away.
Rudolph doing what he needs to do here today as he now starts to pull slightly away from Noah's Ark at the moment. Proctor trying to keep pace as well. Mokori struggling a little bit as they work their way through. And a little bit of a slide right there from Elcori as he tries to gather it back up with the 2 CRGs hot on his tail.
And again, you got to think about the tires that John Paul McCurry has on that shifter machine. He ran those in the dry yesterday for the first of the heat races where Noah's Ark was able to get the jump on the rest of the field. Now side by side, Luis Mendez, John Paul McCurry into the boot. McCurry able to stay ahead, and now Jeff Mills on the outside looking in as well. But a good start of the race so far for Rudolph, who puts a 2.5 on the rest of the field.
He's already jumped up and now will lead the charge here as Zars tries to keep pace, but it's not going to be really anything unless we see an incident happen. But the best battle to watch here is this battle between Melcori, Mendez, and Mills as they head down the back straightaway. Mills and Mendez trying to see if they can hunt down the Burrell Art.
Yeah, long race getting set to come our way. And again, it's a race about tire management, about just keeping it on the racetrack. Consistency is another one of the big things here as well. And Mendez, Jeff Mills, side by side. Mills looking to set up an over-under, gets on the gear, and he's able to get clear of Luis Mendez. How about that for Jeff Mills? He's up into the 4th spot.
Good spot right there for him as he tries to gather it back up, and here they come through the hairpin. Mills now starting to pull away a little bit from Mendez as they make the short run to turn 13 and 14. So far, those two are going to try to separate themselves a little bit, and let's see what they can do when they open it up here as they come onto the front stretch.
On the front straightaway we go now, and everybody's still pushing, getting everything up to temperature. Still 3 minutes into this race. Only 2 laps into it, the second full lap here, lap number 3, I should say, of the race as they go through. Jeff Mills keeping it on the racetrack, and him and Luis Mendez, that's going to be a good battle to watch as well when they get down to it here, Taylor.
It really is, as we see Mills and Mendez trying to get back together and compress as they try to hunt down Jean-Paul Melcori. Proctor, though, is pretty much in a comfortable position in his CRG, but here comes Mills as he is closing down on the number 6 Burrell Art.
Yeah, Jeff Mills getting closer, and my mistake there. I thought he was in 4th there for a second, but John Paul still able to stay ahead in the 6th spot. Jeff definitely closing in that time by. And again, you just look at the different approaches and lines from everybody out there on the racetrack as well. There's different lines, different approaches. The way they kind of take the corners as well has been pretty different for a lot of them. And Jeff, again, I've said this I think 3 times already. It's been a long time for him out of the seat in rain racing, and he's finally back into it here this weekend. And after last year on what was a return to it as well, but the drivers up in front, you talk about Rudolph at 101.862, Noah Zarso 103.053, and then Proctor at 104.3, Melcori at 104.2, and Jeff Mills at 103.8. So he's definitely closing that gap down to the Burrell Art machine.
He's doing everything that he can now to try to see what he can do in the closing stages, as we now see Jean-Paul Melcori dropping back further into the clutches of Mills, but he's also making up some time a little bit right there on Proctor, as those 3 now have a battle for the final step of the podium.
I tell you what, here you have the youngest driver in the field in the Burrell Art, and then the oldest driver, I think by far, in the field going at it here. So you have a rookie and a veteran of this shifter class going at it, and this is, I think, one of the coolest battles as well, especially considering the new age of shifter racing and the old age, as it looks like the experience was going to come into fruition there into turn number 15. Not able to get clear there for Jeff Mills, but he's continuing to push and sit in really good lap times. Again, another huge chunk out of the gap that time by for Jeff Mills, 4/10 quicker than John Paul.
But yet it was that experience that helped prevented them from making contact.
Correct.
He backed out a little bit right there to make sure he would make the corner and allow Jean-Paul Melcori to try to just pull away a little bit, but reel him back in as they come through the S's.
Yeah, definitely reeling in. And it looks like John Paul as well reeling in Derek Proctor. He's going to 10th quicker. Jeff Mills looking on the inside in turn number 7. Side by side into the double rights. John Paul able to hold on to it there on the inside, but a slide there on the exit going to ruin his momentum into the buckle. Turn number 11 now. Jeff Mills, we'll see if he wants to have another go at it. Looking on the inside, he does. Looking to get clear, he's able to get it done this time.
John Paul lets him have it this time as they make the run through the short chute, and Mills will now try to pull away from Jean-Paul Melcori as they come down into turn 14 and 15, and Proctor just sit pretty right there, letting them know that he can still pull away if need be, as he's checked out by a couple of kart lanes.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see if Jeff Mills can chase his 10th teammate, his fellow teammate ahead of him, and Derek Proctor here in a couple of laps. So we'll see what Jeff Mills can do as we get onto the back straightaway this time around. That gap closing in. Derek Proctor here, again, talked about him yesterday, about his, time back in the seat. Hadn't been back since, I think, Dallas was the last race that he had, the last race that we had shifters here at TSRS, and they didn't make it out to Amarillo. But for Derek, I mean, the biggest struggle for him, he said, just keep staying in the go-kart, right? This class has been so physical, and he's joked around saying he wants to strap on an oxygen tank to the back of it. That obviously wouldn't help weight out at all, but again, Derek doing a really good job to keep himself on the podium here in third for the CRG team.
We hear time and time again the most difficult form of motorsports, even from the highest level of drivers and world champions, saying that shifter karts are some of the most demanding physically and mentally that you have to handle. You are basically handling a very powerful race kart around this circuit. When you're only a few inches off the ground, you have to be locked in. You have to be focused to be able to hit your marks, hit your shift points in order to get around a circuit fast in order to do this work.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot going on, right? The braking, the bias, if you're adjusting it all, the gears especially turning in, looking at the temperatures on the Micron as well. There's so much that kind of goes on and happens inside of the seat of this, the feeling of it, when a shift a gear, the sound as well of it. So just kind of, there's so much that goes into play here, as well as now Jeff Mills hot on the heels of Derek Proctor. So Mills continuing to close in here. A car length separates the two of them as we get into the boot here, Taylor.
They are doing a great job here as we watch Jeff Mills look to the inside, try find the opening he needs as they come out of the final corner. It's now going to be a run down to turn number 1. What can we see that 25 of Jeff Mills do? He's closing closer and closer to the back bumper of Proctor as they come through turn 4 and 5. We've seen trouble happen here quite a lot with mistakes coming off corner exit, and so far both of them make it through quite well. And now Proctor opens it up a little bit by a couple of kart lengths.
Two car lengths in between Jeff Mills and Derek Proctor, and again, these two drivers have put in a lot of work to get ready for this year. Jeff working over closely with Ron White, and I'm sure he's looking on as one of his, drivers as well, trying to put in some laps here. Doing a pretty good job so far for Jeff Mills, taking the fight to some of the younger guys in this field, and I'm sure him and Derek are going to have a good laugh about this, especially when both of them come in. But for now, they're fighting for a place on the podium. Just halfway through this race, another half to go, and Rudolph on the back straightaway, continuing to lap quicker than Noah's Ark. So 101.862 for Rudolph, 103.053 for Noah's Ark. And you go back to Proctor, running 104s, Mills 103s as well. So good couple of laps. Jeff Mills looking on the inside of Derek Proctor. Can't get clear in a turn number 4, but if Derek didn't know before, he definitely knows now.
He certainly tried to send it in there as they come through turn number 6. And here he goes to the bottom. Big slide from both the competitors as they gather it back up. Proctor goes on the defensive, but here comes Mill to the bottom. He now has the outside lane advantage. Proctor, though, trying to see if he can keep him tight on the inside lane and will overcome and hold on for the position.
Yeah, that was a good display by these two drivers. And again, just got to be careful with how much they want to fight. Jump on, not too far back. Jeff Mills again in turn number 11, looking to go through. Can't get clear on Derek Proctor. And we're going to head into the boot here now. Derek Proctor under fire from Jeff Mills. On the inside, Mills looking to get the exit on the gear. He's able to get clear on Derek Proctor. Jeff Mills up into the podium places.
What a drive right now for Jeff Mills as he will now try to skid away from Proctor here as he tries to do so. Here comes Jean-Paul Melchiori, though, right there, hot on the heels of these two battling.
Yeah, issues for one driver who's off the racetrack here.
Mendez.
And I think that's Luis Mendez. So, again, Gremlin's just not playing in his favor. And, I mean, he's had speed. He had speed at the start of the weekend, had speed in the first couple of heat races, but he's off just on the side of the straightaway and an early end to his heat race. Leader still Aiden Rudolph out there on the racetrack. Last time a 102.510 and a second quicker than Noah's Ark, so 103.375 for Noah. That gap at 8 seconds for now, and Proctor was a little bit of touch, and John Paul as well, just getting that little bit closer to these drivers just up ahead of him.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's got to be careful of how much he goes in because he almost went off the track right there, similar to what we saw in what happened to Aiden Rudolph yesterday in the rain. So it still shows there's still a little bit of tricky conditions out there for these drivers as we watch Mills try to see if he can continue to hold the line here for the podium.
And for Derek at this point, right, it's time to get the notebook out, take some notes, see what Jeff is doing differently. He's running that little bit quicker, just about half a second quicker than Derek Proctor at the moment. So for Derek, just trying to close that gap and reel Jeff Mills back in. And they're looking pretty close here on this back straightaway, so we'll see what they can do. And there's your leader, Aiden Rudolph. I won't say too much about him. We saw what happened yesterday. Blamed it on me, of course.
It's only fair.
Yeah, right? So he's still going around. And, again, some pretty good lap times, being consistent with it all, racing out here in the rain. And Noah's Ark is right behind him. And I do tell you what, Taylor, that line on the inside, we're hearing from a lot of drivers, it does look much drier everywhere else out there on the racetrack. But there's still just the front straightaway is what's very, very damp still. Turn 1, 2 is what's kind of been, I think, the biggest thing for a lot of people to try and dry up. And these shifters should help that out a lot. But, again, we're still far from it. The Kid Karts are next, and the K Juniors. And off the track for Derek Proctor on the front straightaway here just under our booth. Some sort of issue for Derek. John Paul Curry going to slide through up in a fourth. Derek Proctor falls back, and no idea what happened, but it was, I think, a spin here on the inside of the straightaway, so he's going to find himself off the racetrack.
Might have just went off a little too wide off turn 15, clipped the grass, and around she went.
Unfortunate there for Derek Proctor, but we're getting to the closing stages of this race. You have Aiden Rudolph in the lead, and the Noah's Ark driver right behind him. It's been a good sophomore season for him and a good sophomore start to his year. I mean, you talk about how they started the weekend, this weekend, with a gamble in heat race number 1. Noah took that, I think, by the horns and was able to get it done for the Arcane team to put himself in the lead of that race. And, just a genius move, really, to transition when he did. So he was able to get that done there. And, again, we saw him race over at the national scene a little bit last year. So he's kind of had some good good bits of experience here and there, and has been pushing at it, hard at it, training, and been here at SpeedSportz week after week with a U-Haul, bringing his go-kart out here by himself, working on his own stuff, or bringing a friend with him to do it, in all temperatures throughout all times of the year. And his biggest thing is, trying to get up to the front at the national stuff, getting in the fight. And again, it's a long process for a lot of drivers, and Noah's honestly done a good job so far this weekend to have a good run, especially if he does want to run the Pro Tour later on this year with the Arcane team. And he's really been super comfortable on that sodium machine. You talk about where he was last year to where he's come this year. I mean, from first round of last year to first round of this year, Noah's had a really, really good progression.
He certainly has, and he's looking to try to continue that here as they work their way through. Currently about 12 seconds behind your race leader, but still running some good, consistent lap times. I mean, he was only just a little bit off of your race leader on times last time by a 103 flat for him compared to Aiden Rudolph with a 102.9. So he's been learning out there, and he's been absolutely, if he was just a little bit closer, could put a fight really with Aiden Rudolph.
45 seconds to go in this race. Noah still pushing. Last time, the lap times looked a little closer, a 103 flat for Noah, a 102.9 for Aiden. And again, just managing the equipment from here on out. Just 30 seconds to go. 3 laps to go this time when they cross the stripe. And for Noah, again, just getting to grips with the track, getting to grips with the rain condition, and just driving in these temperatures. Because, when we haven't seen much shift to rain racing. Last time I think we saw it on the national circuit was out at the Stars Championship Series, I think on the Saturday or the Sunday. Can't remember, but that was probably the last time that we saw it last year in 2024 for our shifters. Actually, I stand corrected. The Supernats. Some rain fell and some slick racing. That was, I think, where the best of the world went at it in Las Vegas. It rained there. I completely forgot about that, but yeah. Probably the last time that we saw some rain kind of fall into the racetrack.
Rain during the LPQs and final round of heats for those drivers during that day on Situation Saturday in 2024. So I can attest to that. It was pouring rain on me when I was over in the camera section for me.
Exactly right. But again, and that reminds us, a huge shout out to the entire TSRS crew, our crew as well, weathering the storm, the climate as well, just staying with it. Right, and for the drivers as well, it's not easy to get it done, but 2 laps to go here, and let's follow Aiden Rudolph around for a second and last lap here at SpeedSportz Racing Park. White flag in the air this time by for Aiden Rudolph on it's his first shifter start with the CRG crew. Had one back in 2023 at the start of the Texas Sprint Racing Series season opener here at home. And this year, a full program in place provided by you and Jeffrey and the CRG USA team on what they look to make a mark this year here when the SCUSA Pro Tour comes to home. And again, we've seen this kid race KA for quite some time, X30 as well for about 3 races at the United States Pro Kart Series, and now this year moving up to shifter. Talk to you and Jeffrey and what went into the decision. And I mean, this kid has the perfect build for this class and on what it takes to kind of understand these go-karts, and he's kind of taken it by surprise. A lot of workout has gone into this and a lot of practice as well, and this weekend has shown his pace and has been the class of the field all weekend long, and it's a good start. A really good start for him, and I know he would have liked for Billy to be here, for Jordan to be here, but he was definitely able to shine here at his home track. Aiden Rudolph in his first shifter start wins at home.
That was an exciting victory pose right there for him as he comes to take the checker flag.
Here you go, Noah's Arse next across the line here at second to be second in the podium. Jeff Mills coming across next here in third. And what a drive by Jeff Mills as well. I mean, has to be mentioned, the oldest driver in this field. He was telling me earlier this weekend, I have T-shirts older than some of the drivers in this class, and to be able to race with them, it's hard. But to put himself on the podium, what a drive by Jeff Mills, finishing third for the CRG Nord-Am team here this weekend. There you have it from Shifter Pickup getting set to go underway. We'll be right back with more racing action. 206 Kid Kart coming up next.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
If you want to see a giant selection of beautiful new dining room tables, chairs, servers, come out to Gallery Furniture, see with the latest and greatest dining room furniture. Best of all, buy this dining room furniture today, solid wood. Gallery Furniture delivers free to Houston area home today.
I get black flagged and I'm just like, then you put it in the grass. I really hope I don't go swimming. Yeah.
And it is time for your 206 Kid Karts heading out onto the track here as they get set for their for the main event of the day. And here is your starting lineup. On the pole, it is Wylan Galino, who got a great job yesterday in the heat races. So alongside him, Vettel Baker in second place. JJ DeSong will be in third with Liam Lofton fourth. Booker Anderson and Maverick Reddick round out your 6-kart field for today's Kid Kart event.
There you have your field, 6 drivers total, and again, just looking outside of our commentary booth here, some slight misting outside there as well, so on what we hoped was going to be a dry racetrack at some point today, I'm starting to think that it's probably going to be rain racing for the rest of the day. Intermediate conditions in some parts of the racetrack. Still a lot of standing water out here as well. So we'll see what this race looks like. Again, these kids always delivering, and we're excited for this one as well. Galliano starting on row number 1, and we'll see if we can get done. This is your Kid Karts presented by GR2 Motorsports. And again, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors, Avinco for the tires, as well as Studio 52, Ken and Kayla Johnson for the photography, RLV and Shaw stickers for our fast lap qualifiers. And then our banquet at the end of the year, Samson Kart Racing Solutions, GFC Trackside. So huge thank you to everybody able to make this possible for all of us, Precision Performance Karting, for the wristbands and the lanyards as well. So huge shout out to everybody who makes this possible here. But get set to go green, and everybody just get into line. Vettel Baker up in a second, and Maverick Reddick should be back into the 6th spot as well. So we'll see. We get this race going here in a little bit. A couple of engines getting fired. JJ Deschong saw that a little bit. The green flag getting set to fly here for your 206 Kid Karts, and we're racing one kid. Booker Anderson stalled on the grid, and he's finally able to get going. But man, unfortunate there for Booker. Unfortunate start for him, and I think the officials just saw it that little bit too late. So some work to be done here for Booker to get up to the front of the field. But Wylan Galliano up at the front, JJ Deschong up in a second, Vettel Baker in 3rd. Looks like Maverick Reddick in 4th, and then Liam Lofton just right behind him in the 5th spot.
Field now works their way down the back straightaway for the first time. We have a good battle brewing for the 4th spot between Lofton and Reddick, as Reddick will be able to get the position for the time being over Lofton as they snake their way through the S's. It's all about just trying to keep it on the pavement for these Kid Karts. But we've seen it time and time again that there is always something that could happen for each one of these drivers as they try to survive the next 15 minutes.
Liam Lofton, Maverick Reddick on the same piece of real estate here. Those two drivers fighting. There's Vettel Baker for the MSO Racing Team, working his way through. And that battle further back, Booker Anderson actually getting into the rear bumper there of Liam Lofton, looking to make a move into 11. Booker had a couple of spins there in 11 yesterday. Looks like he almost went for a move there on Liam. Just couldn't get through. Liam under the AR Academy this weekend. All on the CRG chassis, the baby kart, as it is named. Side by side on the front straightaway, Lofton sliding back in the line right behind Mav. And these drivers just a little bit ways away from a podium here this weekend. Vettel Baker, the driver who currently holds on to it, and going side by side here further back. Looking for a move, nothing yet from Liam, but Booker right there in the mix as well, Taylor.
And he certainly is. He's going to try to see what he can do. Even after missing the start just a little bit due to that stalled engine, he is back in the fight and ready to take it on and see what he can do here in this race. As here comes Lofton looking to the inside. We see the 75 of Reddick, though, go on the defensive. Here comes Anderson. He'll take the spot away from Lofton.
Yeah, after slowing out on the grid, a good start by Booker Anderson to get it done here and move himself up another spot, up in a 5th. Shove from behind from Liam Lofton. Booker able to hold on to it.
Booker is going to hold on here for the time being as he tries to work his way down towards the short chute, towards the hairpin. Meanwhile, your top 3 pretty much just separated and cruising on down for a Sunday drive for Galino and Deschong as Vettel Baker sits comfortably in 3rd. But here comes Anderson to try to put the pressure on his CRG teammate of Vettel Baker, or for Reddick, as they come out of the final corner. Here comes Galino in that OTK.
Yeah, Booker under Rod Clenard tent here this weekend out of Waco, Texas. Mav Reddick under the CRG USA tent here this weekend. And those two starting to battle here a little bit. Booker going to look for a move in a 1. Not close, but here he goes into turn number 2 and just lost that run that he had there on the exit. Mav able to hold on to the 4th spot there. Continuing to push in the rain. Onto the back straightaway we go here. Less than a car length in between Booker Anderson and Maverick Reddick. Is Booker going to take a peek on the inside? Stays in line. For now, Mav working his way through. He's able to get clear, and a little bit of contact in between those two drivers. Mav loses a spot. That one was close. Mav slots back into the 5th spot. And Booker starts to pull away here as Liam and Mav now at the back of the field just close in on each other just that little bit more. Galliano's still your leader here. DeShong in 2nd, Vettel Baker in 3rd. Those drivers continuing to push as issues for one driver actually up ahead. I think Vettel Baker made a mistake, and everybody's starting to get a lot closer. Mav Reddick, Liam Lofton, Booker Anderson there as well, starting to close down the gap there on Vettel Baker.
Yeah, they are certainly working their way through as they come out of the final couple of corners here. That 22 machine is a little bit slowing down, and as he tries to recover, here comes the horde of drivers barreling down on him as they make the run to turn 1. Lofton just trying to find any opening he can in order to take the attack on with Reddick as they head down the back straightaway. So far, not going to work, though. He's got a little bit of the toe of the draft to help him draw closer and closer to that back bumper of that CRG. Let's see if he tries to send it into the inside as they enter the braking zone. Nope. He backs off a little bit while Reddick takes the bottom line. Lofton take a little bit of a higher groove to try to build some momentum.
Laps right now for Wyland Galliano, 124.396. Liam Lofton with an issue there, unfortunately, there for Liam. He was close to the rear bumper there of Mav and just lost the time that they had. Mav a 128.158 last time by. Booker a 126. You up to Vettel, that's a 130, 125 for JJ. And you see Booker getting a lot closer there to Vettel Baker. Those two drivers now sharing the same piece of real estate, and 2 car lengths in between the two of them as they work their way onto the front straight.
See what Anderson can do here as he tries to get a good run down the front stretch into turn 1. The 22, though, of Baker just trying to be a little bit defensive. Here comes Anderson, though, trying to show the nose to the inside. Let's see what they can do in 4 and 5. And here they come. Not close enough to try anything right there, as he gets a big shunt right there, push them down the back straightaway.
Those two drivers still pushing each other along. And again, this is the closest battle we have on the racetrack. Your leaders split by 4 seconds. JJ DeShong still in 2nd. Galliano still your leader. And you see them kind of going by there. There's JJ and these two still fighting for the last of the podium places. Booker looking on the inside, looking to get clear in a 7. He's able to get through. Change in the podium. Booker Anderson up in a 3rd, and he's down. Vettel Baker gets through. Booker loses a spot. Unfortunate, held on to the podium place for about a second and then looped it around there at the start of this battle there further back with Mav and Liam continuing to go away here into turn number 11, and they get a little closer there to Booker Anderson. Wyland now crosses the start-finish straight. 4 laps in, just about 7 minutes to go. Here's your race leader, Wyland Galliano, working his way through through the front straightaway now. 124.014 for Weiland, about a second quicker than the rest of the field. Halfway through this race, JJ DeShong here coming a second. He's going to work his way through as well here in a couple of moments. Weiland Galliano still our leader here, and joining me in the booth here for a little bit, Mr. Riley Can. You you were part of this class for quite some time as well. Talk about the Kid Kart class a little bit, and I guess what these drivers kind of, and parents I would say, look forward to, especially I would say the learning curve is one of the biggest things as well.
Oh, it's cool, man. You get your first touch of speed a little bit. I mean, I remember getting my first Kid Kart out. It was actually a Comer 80, and they don't race those anymore. And yeah, I remember it being really fun. I think I whipped a lot of butt at the club races at NTK back in the day. You know, if you know, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was a good time. Learned nothing that I can remember now, but yeah, it was fun. It was entertaining. Made a lot of friends. Kind of got my feet wet in the whole karting world there. Yeah.
And like, again, I feel like a lot of these kids as well, whenever they do get into racing like this, you make a lot of friends at the racetrack as well, and people that you meet, I think is one of the coolest things about it all. And you kind of take those, I guess, relationships towards the future. I think, you know, both of us still talk to a lot of people that we race with. I mean, we work with a lot of people that I race with, especially. But, I mean, I feel like that's the biggest thing, you know, building relationships and lifelong friends sometimes, too.
I mean, it's cool. I mean, like, back, you know, I wouldn't say maybe in Kid Karts, but, I mean, in cadets, like, I got linked up with Sean Owens back with when he was originally with DKC back in the old days, and I was back in cadets, and I ended up racing with him throughout my entire career. So I mean, not even just in Kid Karts, but I think in the cadet classes in general, like it's cool to kind of meet new people and learn so many new things. Because not only is it new for the drivers, the kids behind the wheel, but it's also new for the parents too. You know, it's a whole new world, and something that I'm sure that my parents didn't think existed.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things for me as well, like getting into this, and I got into it super, super late compared to everybody else, but seeing some of the kids kind of get into it early and see them progress has been the coolest thing for me. Me and Alex were talking about this yesterday, like seeing a lot of the young kids progress up the ranks, and seeing like Booker's sister, Beckley, she was in this class last year, and she moved up this year, and seeing their progression through the ranks as well. And it's going to be the same thing when all these kids decide to move up. And seeing battles like this, seeing them go at it here is I think, one of the coolest part about it all.
Yeah, it is really cool. I mean, honestly, I could not tell you. I couldn't say that I remember battling anybody. I just always thought, like, I don't know. I thought I was going so fast when I was a kid. I'm like, oh, my God, this guy is in my way. I need to get around him so I can keep going really fast because it's really fun when I go really fast, So I don't know, like, how far the racecraft goes in something like a Kid Kart nowadays because, honestly, I don't remember. But it is cool, like, to, just to at least get used to being behind the wheel is the cool part about it.
And then I feel like also moving up, right? You move up to a class with, I guess, lower CC, and then you move up to a 2-cycle, a Micro Swift, or a 206 Cadet, which has a lot more speed. As Booker now looking for it on the inside of turn 7, he's going to get clear. And again, just has to hold on to it from here on out. But, like, for all these drivers, when they do move up and they do kind of get a taste of that next level, the next bit of speed, how is that whenever you do make that transition? What's your first memory of racing a cadet car?
See, I had a super old Margay chassis with a Tag Gazelle on it, and I do remember my first time at NTK driving it. I remember I hit the gas for the first time, and pretty sure I spun out. Even though at NTK when you come out of the pits, you go into turn 3, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I spun on entry to turn 3 because I hit the gas so hard. And I remember my neck hurt. I do remember that. That's very vivid to me. But yeah, I mean, the speed was awesome. Like, and as you get older and as you keep going up, you kind of keep chasing that extra, like that feeling of like, oh my God, I'm going really fast. Because like over time, like speed becomes relative. Like, yeah, like for example, like the shifters are going really fast, right? But they don't feel like they're going really fast. Like you don't feel like you're hauling major booty going into the hairpin, you know.
That does make sense. And like speaking of even these kids now, right? Like the likes of Mav and Liam and whoever else is in this field, seeing them kind of lean into the corners and feel that speed. You know, at such a young age, you kind of feel like you're going at such a high speed.
Yeah.
So and seeing kids like Weiland, you know, tucking the head here, I mean, they feel like they're going fast, and you start to understand a little bit more of what's going on, you know, in the seat, what's going on with your feet, what's going on with your hands, and you see all the signals kind of being thrown and continuing to get pushed. So about a minute left in this race, and it's just like the biggest thing for me, I think, especially here every year that we come back, is seeing more and more kids kind of get into the sport. New faces, I think, is the coolest thing that we like to see.
It's next generation.
The sport growing, right? And it's the next generation. Like I've said this with kids that I've seen grow up. Saw you were in here actually announcing when, you know, some of the drivers that we saw earlier. Brody Stoffel, you announced his race against Dutch Westbrook.
Yeah.
Timo Ahmad was in that one as well, and a lot of, you know, that was, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, which is crazy to think about. 3-4 years ago in 2021 at the end of the year. So stuff like that, and seeing them grow, and it's going to be the same thing when we see these kids here just grow and move up through the ranks.
No, I mean, it's cool. It's cool seeing people like Brody Stoffel and Dutch Westbrook even, and you know, their progression in being, you know, these national caliber drivers. I mean, you know, you never know. I mean, in this race right now, we could have the next Joe Turney, Ryan Norberg action, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool, man, to try to think in the head of the future like that. You know, as long as you stay committed and, you know, be consistent with it, you know, you'll get there.
Indeed, yeah. Here's Weiland coming around on the 2.6 in the air next time by. JJ DeShong, the driver, still in second. He's about 21 seconds back, and then behind him, another 10, Booker Anderson, sitting there in third. Vettel Baker back in fifth. Liam Lofton up to fourth, and sixth for Mav Reddick here. These races, 15 minutes plus 2 laps. Some pretty long races.
It must feel like eternity.
And it must feel like a long, long time for these young drivers.
It's like driving on the highway, like down the back straight here. The back straight's huge, and so I would imagine it's being like on Highway 75 in Dallas. Like, you're just, man, the whole time.
And it's just like that for these kids, right? Like it takes them quite some time to go through. And again, puddles of water there in the double rights. But yeah, they're long laps. And again, when most of the race you kind of spend it alone, it's easy to get out of focus when you start kind of looking around and seeing what's kind of going on. But Weiland, I tell you what, he's been locked in the entire race, tucking that head down, you know, under the steering wheel. And
locked
in, exactly. And then you have JJ DeShong as well right behind him, who's on the back straightaway now, working his way through.
I mean, do you ever imagine, like, try to put yourself in the parents' shoes at this point? Like, your kid is leading the race by multiple 20 seconds. What is going through the parents' head right now?
I mean,
because it's a kid kart thing, right? These kids are 5 and 6 years old, right? Anything could happen at any moment. Like, you're just holding on for dear life. I would be gripping the white knuckling the fence right now, hoping that my kid could bring in a cars first.
And I do the same thing, right? And I think that's where you see the most passionate parents, especially in the skate kart class. This is the start of it all, right? And I feel like sometimes this could be the most intense class of them all as well. But whenever you're in moments like this where it's for parents especially, I mean, I became an uncle like a year and a half ago, and to me, it's a different feeling. Thank you. It's a different feeling as well. Looking over, I could imagine, you know, having a kid and watching him race and go out there. I'd be, I think, more passionate than he was about racing, right? And as long as they're having fun and a good time, I feel like from what we've seen, it is always the most important thing. And results are going to come. A lot of these kids are young, 5 years old for some of them, 4 for a couple of others, 6 or 7 or whatever. These kids are so young, and they still have so much to learn. Some of the best drivers, you know, we talk about the Billy Musgraves of the world, and he's 30 now, you know, and still winning races and still learning day by day. And again, you sometimes you can't expect these kids to learn everything in one coaching session or 1 hour or 1 day. So to see them apply and learn, I think little by little is the best thing to see, and especially for kids like, you know, that we've seen today, where they've had lessons across the day and they've learned as well. That's one of the biggest things I think that we like to see here, especially. And for guys like Weiland, who's been out there in the race lead the entire time, has probably felt like an hour-long race for him. He's kept it clean, kept it good in first appearance, as well as sigh of relief. 2 more corners to go for Weiland Galliano. Puts 22 seconds on the field. He wins here in Kid Kart. What a race for these Kid Karts across the line next. JJ DeShong now coming through the boot. And coolest thing, I think, for us to see here, Riley, as well. And as we get talking, you've seen a lot of racing so far. I guess what's been your favorite class so far this weekend? Who are some of the drivers that you're kind of looking out for as well?
I mean, I think the junior races have always been really good. I really always enjoy watching the 206 stuff. I'm not gonna lie and say that like my old home K Senior, it's been kind of a downer this weekend. The first heat was pretty good. The second heat was all right. The third heat was just the third heat.
Yeah.
But honestly, the KA juniors and the 206 seniors, they always put on a good show, and those are my favorite races to watch usually. So yeah, I'm excited to see what these guys got in store. I know Tyrone Kemper is going to be pretty fast. He's been fast all weekend. Nate Golset's always going to be there. And there's a lot of heavy hitters that could take the win away. It's anybody's cards.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, thank you very much for joining us up here in the booth.
I'm going to go sit in this chair 2 feet away from you.
So yeah, we'll see you. For those of you guys at home, I was Riley Ken. I know Nate Dean was happy about it, also sitting back at home. But for those of you asking.
Shout out Nate Dean. Nate Dean's my man.
Luke Cruz getting set to go out, as well as his teammate in Travis Pettit out there on the racetrack. Take a quick break on the airwaves. Keep it ready to roll here for KA100 Junior coming up next.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK along.
Welcome back here to On Track Action. Your KA100 Junior is getting set to hit the racetrack now. Let's run you down your starting lineup. Tyrone Kemper Jr. after 2 heat wins yesterday. He's going to put him on the front row on the inside, starting alongside TV Kart USA's Travis Pettit, Nathan Golseth, Davis Henry on row number 2, Juanjo Paramo, and Gage Bailey on row number 3. Mason Berry and David Ibarra on row number 4, Bobby Klein and Maui Angel on row number 5. Easton Cox back to Oscar Gus Wonderley on row number 6. Nico Orbezo, Connor Corsi on row number 7. Luke Cruz, Jordan Vani, row number 9. Tucker Trebe and Braden Ledwig on row number 10. Your top 20 starters here as well. I'm going to run you through the rest of them that are getting set to take the green flag. About 5 or 6 more drivers that are getting set to take the green flag here. Again, you have Luca Gomez de Moraes, Salvador Ruiz, Ian Mims, and Braden Westfall. Your 24 drivers in this KA100 Junior class. Riley, we heard from you. A couple of heavy hitters in this class. A couple of drivers we're used to seeing across the national circuit. Kemper Jr., Travis Pettit, 2 of the fastest in the mixed conditions. And today, they see who takes the win at the opening round of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. We await the green flag. Into the start box we go. We have it this time around. A good start by the inside line. Tyrone Kemper Jr., Nathan Golseth push through. Juanjo Paramo, Travis Pettit side by side in a turn number 3. They're all able to make it through unscathed here at the start of this race. A couple of drivers going 2, 3 wide. And at the start of these races, I think it can always get hectic here, Riley.
Yeah, it was a great start from the inside line. I mean, starting in the S's here is always interesting. It's actually kind of one of my favorite starts, across the country. It is kind of a toss-up on who really does get that better line going into turn 2. Because it really isn't necessarily about turn 1, your entry to turn 1. It's more about how you get into that second curve in the S's.
Exactly, and that really helps you kind of propel yourself in good momentum as well on that back straightaway. More and more battles going on here. Nico Orbezo's in the fray. Maui Ancho 3 wide there for a second for him. But a battle for the lead already. Nathan Golseth, your new leader. Tyrone Kemper Jr. is up in a second. Juanjo Paramo for the Red Speed Racing team here this weekend on its debut tent weekend as well, finds himself at 3rd. And the Berry twins, 2 drivers get together. Travis Pettit, Nico Orbezo goes around a couple of drivers ramping over each other. One of the TB karts, and it did look like Luke Cruz indeed. Unfortunate sequence of events for a couple of these drivers, but Nathan Golseth, about 2-3 kart lengths in between himself, Kemper Jr., back to Mason Berry, Davis Henry, and David Ibarra there as well. And now it's just time to get in the groove here, Riley, especially, you know, very early in this race. It's very important to pick and choose your battles. Yeah, and you know, you look back at the battles they had at Amarillo Kart Complex whenever we were in mixed conditions similar to this. Golseth was in the lead of the race, and unfortunately it fell apart in the last corner where Kemper was able to get the move done and went back on him. So we're going to see how this race continues to progress. They're side by side as well further back in the field. But again, that big incident, it's very easy to have this race slip away in the early stages. Yeah. Now Maui Hengel looking on the inside of Davis Henry. He's able to get clear, but an over-under, and I feel like this track has been so characteristic for moves like that all weekend long.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this track is one of my favorites in the country. Like, overall, out of anyone that I've raced at, this is top 3, I'd say. Especially for as racing goes, there's passing everywhere. Every corner is important. It's nice. It's really fun to race, especially with the over-unders around the boot in the last corner. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to do. Turn number 6, which we're coming up on now as well, is one of the big ones. Mason Berry looking on the inside of Paramo. Berry gets himself into third there for a second. And again, we talked about that, and Alex talked about the puddles yesterday on what happens when you do hit them, and it's almost like a brick wall has hit you, and it just ruins your entire momentum into the next corner as Ibarra looks for a move here as well.
It's like giving these karts front brakes whenever you hit a puddle.
Yeah, so not ideal. Ibarra is able to make it stick over the curb, hand in the air, and telling Juanjo Paramo to work their way forward as Maui Angel back there as well. Pettit still in this one after Henry, it looked like, kind of just got onto his rear bumper, and they both got slowed down a little bit. Your leader, though, still Nathan Golseth by a good margin here. Just, I think, half a second in between himself and Tyrone Kemper Jr. as they got a little too close for comfort there in turn 15.
That's a big test spot. Like, you really kind of, like, in the curve here in the last corner, it's always kind of antsy. Like, do you want to hold it in? Like, do you want to keep that nose on the inside, or are you going to let the guy ahead of you go ahead first? Like, it's always a little sketchy spot.
And here as well, right, on the double right-hander, Davis Henry and Juanjo Paramo just kind of deciding who's going to be ahead when you get down on the straightaway, and it's really easy to ruin each other's momentum and lose a lot of time whenever you do get out of those corners and do get kind of into that straightaway, which is a big momentum base, and here Paramo's going to have the upper hand with the inside line going into the double rights, and I stand corrected. Davis Henry, what a nice over-under into the double rights.
Yeah, and this part of the race is more about just singling out, trying to settle yourself in, and then you can start banging in some laps, try to catch up to the guy ahead.
And I feel like in the junior categories as well, right, we find ourselves in kind of the rhythm of it's always 100%. It's always go, 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 go. And it's never kind of sit back and think about how this race is going to pan out, how you want it to pan out. And planning, I think, is the biggest thing that we've heard from drivers like Caden McQueen and a lot of others. There's a lot more planning involved, especially in these 100cc categories.
Yeah, I mean, but it is tough to plan races like these, especially in a rain race, for sure. I mean, anything can happen at any time. Just one tire wrong could just destroy your race and even somebody else's race.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing as well whenever we get into it, right? So much can happen. There's so many variables out there on the racetrack, and now for Paramo and Pettit, those two starting to go at it. We'll see if Pettit has enough run on this back straightaway, looking on the inside, using that curb to help him get turned. I think that's exactly what he needed, but Henry with a much better run on the outside, and you see it kind of falling into his hands. We'll see if Pettit can set something up here into the double rights. Not close enough there for now. Half a second for your leaders and about 2 seconds back to Juanjo Paramo, who sits in third.
It's quite the unfortunate start for Pettit. I mean, he has been arguably the one to beat all weekend besides Kemper, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to get that chance to fight for that win unless, somehow there is a miracle that happens.
Again, a lot of time left in this race. 11 minutes still set to go for us here, and that's a lot of time for anything to happen. We saw what happened in the mini swift. We saw what happened in micro. Oh, yeah. We've seen it kind of happen all weekend long. It
ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Exactly. So there's a lot of variables that can come into play here for us in these main events, and for a lot of drivers that have kind of been struggling with different things here as well. Nathan Golseth, I think, has been one of the most impressive as well, where he was. It took him a while to get up there in the heat races, had a couple of good results And then finally able to get onto the lead and be able to lead comfortably. Pettit there looking for a move on the inside. And a couple of the other drivers who are impressive, Nico Orbezo, Maui Angel, and Tucker Trebe. I mean, these are very, very young drivers that are mostly rookies, especially Maui only a year into racing, and a couple of these other young guns just kind of going at it here in the mid-pack. The likes of Nico Orbezo here as well looking for a move on the 868. They all find themselves just 14th, 13th. Connor Corsi is a driver there on your screen in the 868, and they all continue to fight here. So these are all battles that are continue to go on as the race progresses. But ladies and gentlemen, a change for the lead. Tyrone Kemper Jr., the kid from NOLA, retakes the lead of this race. Side by side here further back, Connor Corsi, Nico Orbezo going at it on the exit of turn 15 on the front straightaway. Baldus just ahead of them. Jackson on the high five machine, able to hold them back. We get onto the back straightaway now here. Kemper Jr. Into turn 11 is able to get clear. Nathan Golsath working his way through as well, and it's just kind of reeling them back in, right? Reeling them back in. It was the same thing when Kemper was behind it, and now just getting the notebook out, taking notes, see where he's stronger and see where you can really try and go for a move.
I wish we got to see what happened, because the last time I checked the leaders when they passed by, I mean, there was a pretty sizable gap that Golsath had. So I wonder maybe he made a mistake or something, and that's what allowed Kemper to go by, because now, I mean, he's right back on him.
Yeah, Golsath's quickest lap is about 3/10 off of that of Kemper's, but I mean, the margins are still very, very close in between these two drivers. This time around a 105.5 and a 106.7 for Golsath, but I mean, they're very, very close. Sorry, my apologies. It just updated a 105.7 that time by for Nate Golsath, and about a 105.9 for Tyrone Kemper. So those gaps are very, very close to each other as they work their way through on the back straightaway. 2 car lengths in between these two drivers. Golsath taking a peek on the inside, got on the brakes, couldn't get a move done. Here we go again, just over-unders, back and forth. Golsath still trying to get creative with Kemper, and the two of them make a little bit of contact side by side on the exit of the double rights into turn number 11. Golsath has the better run. He's able to get through, muscled his way by. Kemper back to second.
There he goes. Now it's a race.
We have a race on our hands from here on out, and again, time continuing to go down. 8.5 minutes to go, and time actually moving up on timing. My mistake. We have about just 6 minutes left in this race here. We're at just about the 9-minute mark, and this race continuing to go through halfway through this race now. These drivers just full on, trying to hold on for dear life from here on out as they continue to try and get more speed out of it and find more time out there on this racetrack. So we'll see what we can do in a quick reset here for us as well. With just 5 minutes on our timing pylon. That time going to continue to go down as this race progresses. And I feel like for Golsath as well, I mean, you talk about all the hard work he did. That first race win came for him at DKC. Kemper Jr., the #1 plate on his kart this year. Talk about the work he did last year to be consistent at the opening run in NOLA, and as well at Amarillo, where he picked up the leftovers. But these two drivers, I mean, we saw the championship battle, the race win battle last year, and you talk about championship this year. I think these two are really looking really strong. Have had really good results throughout the heat races.
Definitely. I mean, I think this top 3 are going to be. This is going to be the fight for the championship all year, especially if in the next rounds, if Pettit comes back, it could be a four-horse race for that championship.
And I mean, talk about that as well, right? Kyle Uchinsky and bringing that team out here, TB Kart USA, the importership with the TB karts here in the States, and bringing the likes of John Burke, Luke Cruz out here as well, who obviously this race did not go well for him at the start with an incident, but it's honestly been a climb upwards as well. And for Travis Pettit, he's not sure of how much they're going to do. Talked to his dad as well on how much they were wanting to do, and just seeing if they wanted to come back out here. And they see the competition here, right? These are kids that are up there at the front. Kemper was on the pole not too long ago. Nate as well, he was on the front row at USPKS MCC not too long ago, and David Ibarra as well. These are all front runners across national series, and at the Supernats they've all been quick. So it's been a climb upwards for a lot of these, and we're starting to see a lot of them start to shine and kind of come into their own. And talking about starting to see a couple of these drivers shine. Nate Dogg really coming to life here as well, starting to put a gap on Tyrone Kemper Jr. His lap times continuing to improve here, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Texas scene needs a bit more respect. I mean, we've had some really great drivers come out of here. People like Alex Stanfield or Jake French even, these guys that are national champions who whoop at any category they race into, win all kinds of races. So, we need a bit more respect. So we do need Travis to come over here more often so we can show him what's up.
Right, and then it brings a lot of more drivers. You talk about the KA senior class as well with Jesus Vasquez Jr. and a couple of the other guys who come out here and race. So it's been good to see kind of more and more drivers start to work their way out here and want to race. This series gets bigger year after year with numbers upon numbers, with people from all different places, people moving down to Texas to get closer to a nice, healthy, I think the biggest regional series that we have in the U.S. At the moment. So again, all testament to the work that's kind of gone in from the entire TSRS crew, from Brittany Lobon and her crew as well. So a shout out to them. And then the track lights as well this weekend, the addition of that has been a great addition in my opinion as well, and helping these drivers out, especially in the trick conditions yesterday. So we're seeing it now. And back on the racing action, a 105.4 for Nate Golseth last lap, and a 105.6 for Tyrone Kemper Jr. So again, chipping away at it here for Tyrone. But Nate just seems to have the upper hand. We saw what happened earlier in this race. So 3 minutes left to go, plus 2 laps. So this race going to be very close all the way to the end. And talk about David Ibarra as well. He's starting to close down his gap up to Tyrone Kemper Jr. He was a 10th quicker the last time by.
Yeah, I mean, he'll get there by the end. I mean, the whole point of the race is to be there at the end. You want to finish. If you want to finish second, you got to be there. When the checker flag flies. I think Ibarra will get there.
And talked to his dad, Ignacio, as well earlier on in the weekend, and said that they felt comfortable in the rain, and obviously a DNF in the first heat race didn't fall into their hands. And as the weekend's gone on, he's been progressively better at top 5 finishes in both of the heat races and has been getting there little by little. And you see him finally get there with Tyrone Kemper Jr. throwing everything at it to try and salvage a second-place finish here as well, with just 2 minutes to go and 2 laps the next time around, about 5 laps to go left in this race. And I mean, Ibarra giving everything at it to try and close down his gap to Kemper.
So I wonder, Caleb, what do you think, how different do you think this race would be if it was fully dry?
If it was fully dry, you'd have at least the top 10 drivers in there, right? And I would assume you wouldn't have those extra variables that you have now, right? This racetrack is so tricky. It's so much harder to go side by side in a lot of places because of the lack of grip on one side and the amount of grip on the other side, either inside, outside. So you'd have a lot more drivers into the mix. And again, whenever it does rain, it kind of, a lot of the drivers tend to flourish in situations like this. I mean, let's be realistic, right? A lot of drivers, when it starts to rain, what happens? Turn away, back out, don't want to hit the racetrack.
Get scared.
Don't want to put those rain tires on. Then you have other drivers, like I've seen many times, hit the racetrack when it does rain, when it is storming. You go to the track just to have that rain practice.
Yeah.
And it should be the same thing with everybody who wants to get on the sport, right? Whenever it does, whenever it's dry, you go to the racetrack, good day. But whenever it rains, you know what? I think I'm gonna go home. I don't want to get soaked. My hands are gonna get cold or whatever. And it's to go out there, do those laps in wet conditions, like we've seen in most of these kids, especially nowadays, that you see at the front. It's when it does rain, you hit the racetrack, you go out there, you put in the laps, you put in the extra time when nobody else is, and you're seeing that from these top 3 kids.
I think the perfect example, if you want to look at it on a grand scale, is go look at the F1 world champion. Go look at Max Verstappen. He was always driving in slick tires when it was wet out, when it was cold, when it was icy. And look at him now. You watched the Brazil race from this past year, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why he did that. It's the same thing here.
And you talk about a lot of those drivers as well. Flourished in karting, started in karting. That's where they all started. Rain racing, Lewis Hamilton as well, one of the drivers in Formula One now that always talks about the work that him and his dad put in on slick tires in the rain conditions. And that's, one of the things you're hearing it from some of the best in the world to ever do it. And I think Ibarra and Kemper Jr. want to work together to try and get up to Nathan Golseth, but these gaps are looking good here. 2 tenths quicker for Tyrone Kemper Jr. last time by, and a 10th quicker for David Ibarra this time around. So time is of the essence here for sure. 2 laps to go this time when they cross the stripe, and they got to go. They got to get everything out of it. They have a second away from Nathan Golseth, so if they do want to get there in the end, it's going to have to be a big push here, right?
Definitely. It's mano-a-mano now. I mean, it's 2 laps to go now, and I can't see them catching up on pure pace. So it's the battle for second now.
Nate's been doing a good job to keep it on the asphalt, to stay ahead of the rest of the field. 2-6 in the air this time by. This race coming to a close, and you talk about the stories here in this class. David Ibarra as well, one of the veterans in this class now, 13 years old. Tyrone Kemper Jr. had to move up from mini early, outgrew that class too fast. And then you talk about the kid in the lead as David Ibarra goes off the track unfortunate for David Ibarra, but everybody else still ways back. So he's going to have a really good gap. But man, that's
tough.
That's
tough.
That's a hard pill to swallow there for David Ibarra. But a podium still at the moment for him. Definitely in the books here and in the cards. And you talk about the progress of this kid. Talked about how his story kind of came into fruition in Dallas, Texas, not too long ago at Caddo Mills, his home track at DKC. It's been a while since he's been back on that top step. He was close in Amarillo. He's been, close in other places as well. And you talk about the supernats that he had. He missed out on the main event, lost at the dice roll. And that was, a learning curve for himself and to get back into the kart, to get back and to get better under all conditions and to racing more and more. And didn't do the preseason this year, was focusing on this race. It's done laps after laps after laps at this very racetrack. And the hard work that this kid has put in, the hard work that the entire team has put in with the rebranding this year with the, new equipment and whatnot, it's a huge testament to what Trevor McAllister has done to get this kid to where he is, to Ryan Perry as well, to get this kid to the point where he's at. And you see him flourish in conditions like this with only, 2-3 years of racing experience. I remember when he was racing out there with a full Red Bull livery, a Red Bull suit, wanted to be like Max Verstappen. That was his idol. And today he's had a Max Verstappen-like drive all day long. And in the last couple of corners for Nathan Golseth, it's been a year where he's grown, a year where he's learned, a year where he missed the Supernats. But in the last 2 corners, this kid, after time of waiting, he's finally at the back on the top step of the podium. Nathan Golseth wins in Houston. He's your winner for the opening round of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. Tyrone Kemper Jr. across the line in second. David Ibarra across the line in third.
And what a great drive from Nathan. I think even going back to the struggles that he's went through, especially with the Supernats thing, it's not about how you react. It's about how you respond. How do you overcome those kinds of issues? And I think the work that he's putting in is great to see.
That's a really good display today. And I know his mechanic, Shaston Johnson, told him yesterday that if he didn't win, that he would ultimately quit at the end of it. And Shaston, I guess you got another year full of work, my man, because Nathan Golseth is a winner here in Houston. Pickup getting set to go underway. When we come back, 206 Senior takes the racetrack.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Welcome back here to SpeedSportz Racing Park. It's time to go green for your 206 seniors. James Overbeck, Christopher McKeithen, the Coyotes. Some say an invasion, others say a complete takeover here at the Texas Sprint Racing Series for the two Coyote boys. We're going to lead the field out onto the racetrack and to the green flag. Behind them, Josie Chambers, Bowden Barnwell as well. Kelvin Zing, Jensen Harrell, Shane Reddy, Jackson Young, Reagan Seville, and Bryce Frank. Your top 10 drivers. A lot of drivers to look out for here in this one as we get set to take the green flag. And we're racing here in 206 Senior. A good start by that inside line, but a better one, I think, for the outside. McKeithen going to have a good run into the S's. Not close enough to challenge his teammate, and those two Coyotes have been known for working very, very well together throughout the years. And again, they're at the front of the pack. Jensen Harrell, they're losing a spot to Kelvin Zing, who's looking to get through, as well as Reagan Seville making up some couple of spots there on the outside for Reagan Seville, and a relatively clean start for the majority of the field. Samuel Young goes around Sam Toa off the racetrack. Ruzic able to go through. Another one of the TB carts off the racetrack as well, but we continue to go forward. Another driver around. Shelby Ramirez almost up and over. Very scary incident there for Shelby. Almost went over, but looking back up at the front of the field, James Overbeck, Christopher McKeithen leading this field away. Borden Bonwell already up to second. Josie Chambers in fourth. This field continuing to go through as well. Joining me now in the booth, MX5 Cup driver, Elio Mesa. You've raced in this class as well before, so firstly, good to have you here with us. I know you've been busy coaching, but what have you kind of seen from the conditions out there so far today?
No, it's been very wet conditions all weekend. Super cold, not used to this whatsoever, so just trying to stay warm. But no, I mean, it's super slick out there, as you can see, and it's been a weird day with the mist, not really letting the track dry off, so see a lot of drivers sliding everywhere.
And I feel like that's been the biggest thing today, right? You know, yesterday we had the rain, today it's been the mist, and it continues to kind of come through, which doesn't let the track kind of dry off, but you're seeing a lot of drivers kind of start to move up. You know, JD Lamping, Cameron Reed, I know as well, who was out at the MX5 Spec MX5 shootout as well, and she's kind of working her way through the field, and she was talking about how cold it was as well throughout the weekend. So a lot of these drivers kind of working their way up. Who have you kind of been keeping an eye on, especially in this 206 class?
I haven't watched too much of it, just, you know, with all the coaching I've been doing for Iron Rock, but, you know, it's definitely a really fun class to watch. You know, really bump draft dependent drafting class, so I know Josie's a guy I like to root for all the time. Really good kid, super fast, and you know, as you can see, it's not like in the two-stroke stuff where people tend to pull away. They're all together.
Yeah, and I mean, especially for Josie Chambers, right? He's been one of the drivers that kind of took the fight to them as well. Bowden Barnwell, as well, has been super quick. I believe as well from the Midwest as well. And you have guys, obviously, you know, your normal 206 senior guys like Reagan Seville, like your Bryce Franks, and your Kelvin Zings as well, who are working their way through the field right now. But it's just a lot, right? You have a lot of battling here. McKeithen and Overbeck as well going side by side further up the field. And again, they just continue to battle as this race goes on. But this track, I feel like especially, provides a lot of over-under opportunities, and it makes it that much harder to kind of make moves here, Elio.
It does, yeah, especially with how slick it is, too. If you overcook the entry, it's really easy for the guy behind you to just drive out. And so, you know, like you said, the track's super slick, and, you know, from the practice we had on Friday, there was a lot of rubber built into the track, and so when it started to rain on Saturday, you kind of had your traditional rain line, outside, inside, inside, outside. Now the real rubber is kind of all washed away, and so that's why it's really hard. You see many drivers not being able to figure out the right line. I mean, the whole track's going to be slippery. There's not one traditional rain line, so everyone's trying to find it out, and you know, as the drivers who can experiment the most, they're going to be the ones who are the quickest.
And we saw that yesterday with the likes of Jake French, and in this class especially, a lot of drivers have kind of been experimenting with James and Christopher being out on the front of the field. They've been doing the most experimenting that they could as well, just being up there, as Jackson Young looking for a move on Zing, able to get through in a turn number 6. And again, like we've seen the kind of tighter lines, especially here in turn 7, and more drivers either opting to go wide, and you see kind of a good exit for a lot of them, and more drivers attacking the corner here especially, which I know they're giving out penalties today for corner cutting if you do go over both of those corners. So that's the hardest part, right? To find that trip on the that grip on the racetrack you were talking about the rubber being laid down, especially, it almost turns like ice. On the Friday, we're obviously laying down all that rubber, and then when it rains, it turns into ice whenever, you do have the wet conditions.
Yeah, today, like we've been saying, it's super cold out. It's been misting, so the track's never been able to dry off. So, a lot of guys have asked me, hey, should I go out on slicks or should I stay on rains? And if it was sunny, I'd say go out on slicks, because at the end of the race, you're going to be hauling butt. But right now, there's no chance the track dries off anytime soon.
Yeah, not anytime soon. A lot of drivers are fighting. Rafael Cross got sent to the wayside there for a second. One driver actually around on the back straightaway. That's the 644 there. Put a name on that number as well. But Aiden Stone, unfortunately, around and facing the wrong way. They're on the back straightaway, and just an unfortunate event there. Sawyer Roussel looking on the inside of Carter Kilgo, looking to make a move. These drivers are just on the edge of the top 10. On the outside looking in, I know Cameron Reed, longtime friend for you as well, finding herself out there, and Rafael Cross finally getting himself back up there. Tyler Roberts, Jacob Oliver, working his way through the field here as well. And you look back up at the front, the top two just kind of running away. But Reagan Seville looks like he's closing in. And obviously being a taller driver at this racetrack on these type of conditions, I feel like that benefits the most.
Yeah, taller drivers definitely have the advantage. As you can see, Cameron's rear bumper looks dislodged in the right rear, so that's not helping the performance. But yeah, the taller drivers definitely have the advantage here. Just a little bit more leverage in the corners, and that's really what you need. And that's why you see some of the smaller drivers or the drivers lower in the steep tend to struggle a bit in the rain. And that's why you saw Jake French yesterday in the senior race being a bit taller, just being able to muscle the car around and manipulate the weight better.
Yeah, unfortunately for Cameron, actually just got the meatball flag like you mentioned there. That rear bumper came dislodged, so unfortunate for her. That's going to be at the end of her race, and a couple of others as well trying to work their way through. Like Kilgo lost a couple. He's down at 15 after the lap that he just had, and a couple of others. You look at the battle up for the lead. Starting to close down a little bit. 1:11.8 for Seville, 1:11.9 for Overbeck and McKeithen. So the two of them still working together, pushing each other along. But Reagan Seville is definitely closing down that gap for the lead of this race. And again, these two boys have worked flawlessly together all weekend long, and I think that's one of the keys to victory, especially in this 206 race, in this 206 class, especially here in Texas. Finding a partner, finding somebody to work with. For Seville, he has nobody up there with him, but you see how aggressively he's kind of leaning on his GFC.
Yeah, he's kind of taunting him with the wave there, trying to tell him that he's coming. But yeah, like you said, Reagan's one of those taller drivers, so that's why you see him so fast in the rain here, in the wet, being able to manipulate that weight. And maybe went a little wide there.
Yeah, and those double rights as well. I feel like there's a lot of puddles and a lot of standing water on the outside of that track, and just very, very low grip situations there as well, Elio.
Yeah, it's a super tricky corner. Unlike 8 and 9, those double rights where you can kind of use the curbing on the the entry or at the apex. There's not really, you don't find that there in 4 and 5. So it's either taking a really wide line or just going along for the ride and sliding until you get to the apex or the exit of the corner.
And I feel like also just kind of trusting that the grip is going to get there at some point is the biggest thing about driving in the rain, especially in races like this, right? You kind of start to experiment, and you have to trust that the grip is going to be there at some point. And just walk us through that, right? For some of these drivers that are in this, like James, I talked to him, and he was saying that he kind of struggles in the rain because he just doesn't trust that the grip is ever going to be there. What barrier do you have to get through to kind of trust that in the end?
I would say the biggest thing for me, I love driving in the rain. For me, it's a whole different kind of racing that you have to do. You're always experimenting, but the biggest thing I would say is, like James said, having that confidence in pushing the cart a little bit past your comfort zone. Because believe it or not, it's going to push a little bit on the entry if you carry that speed. But if you do it right, it's going to hook right on the exit when you're off the racing line. And I think that's what a lot of drivers have to, it's uncomfortable at times to do. But once you master it,
some lap traffic there, yeah, and again, once you kind of get down to it, like you see Reagan there, and you see the differences in lines for them as well. But some lap traffic kind of tripped leaders up a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Reagan was also going to pass under yellow there, but looked like he backed out. So
yeah,
but like I said, yeah, it's all about confidence. And at the end of the day, I've had at least many rain practice days that have helped me a lot. And believe it or not, these rain days, these rain races help drivers in the dry. because then they become way more comfortable with the handling of their go-kart. Now you see Reagan go for a double move on the inside.
Goodness, what a move by Reagan Seville to try and take the lead of this race. That was, I think, one of the wildest move attempts that we've seen, but almost made it stick, and that's exactly what you have to do when you're racing two Coyotes that are just as fast as each other. You need to split them up, and Seville has just done that. And with that, Josie Chambers is looking a lot closer, I think, this lap than he has before, but our pylon here on the left-hand side of your screen, we need to refresh that here as well, but Seville is up to second now. Josie Chambers is up to fourth, and he's closing down his gap. But this is exactly what we need to do. When you have two teammates working together as flawlessly as they were, to get there in between them is the biggest thing. And Seville looked like he got hooked on the rear bumper there of McKeith, and he's going to lose a spot. Looking to go back in on James Overbeck, and again, splitting them up, keeping them separate, and Josie Chambers, a new variable here into the mix.
Yeah, he's doing the right thing by, taking control of the situation, because once the teammates get hooked up and have a bit of a gap, it's, tricky for Reagan to get back to him. But as you see, Overbeck goes to try and make the pass. Reagan tries to over-under, but can't make it stick. So Overbeck moves up a position. Here comes Josie, like you said. Hopefully Reagan and Josie can work together to get by these guys, but doesn't look like Reagan wants to sit in third for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, and he hasn't, wanted to sit in third for that long. And again, a lot of the big thing for a lot of drivers when they saw the Coyote boys register this weekend, they always talk about how good they work together and how they push each other the way they do. We saw it at the Grand. We see it every track that we go to, and splitting them up was the biggest thing, I think, for everybody in there to get themselves up into the mix. And now for Josie Chambers, he's alone and intrepid, I think, in the entire field, and he's trying to get himself up there as well and become a factor in this race. And for Seville as well, I mean, to lose out in the championship on the last race of the season in the main event, I think, on what had been a 7-time win streak for him across all categories, to get himself into the senior ranks and lose the championship in that last race was definitely didn't leave a good taste in his mouth. And now this year wants to get it back, but he sits in third. Here are two drivers that have been very, very strong here as well. Overbeck looking for a move on his teammate in McKeith and wanting to switch it up a little bit. James going to go to the lead. Christopher looking for an over-under. And here comes Reagan Seville and Josie Chambers. We'll see how this race continues to go forward. Chambers, two kids local to the Houston area, and then one kid out of North Carolina and the other out of Cincinnati, Ohio, working their way on the front straightaway. Just under 3 minutes to go left in this race.
Yeah, Reagan has so much speed. You can see he's all over the back bumper of those Coyotes. And as you saw Overbeck, maybe he thought he had a little bit more speed than his teammate there, as see Reagan and P2 battling. Oh, Josie goes a little wide there on the entry at 4. You can look to see Reagan going by. Yep, there you go. Just the push from Josie. Here they go on the inside. Should be a relatively easy pass. They don't want to battle too much and let Overbeck get ahead. So here goes Reagan to the inside. Oh, almost gets it to Overbeck, but holds on to it. Reagan's been very deep on the brakes, and issues for James Overbeck. Something's gone wrong on that Coyote machine. He's out of this race. Able to keep going, but something amiss there on the Coyote machine. I wonder if he's going to dive into the pits. He's able to keep going, but this race, the top 3 has changed. Josie Chambers is up there now looking for an over-under. Has not become a champion in the senior ranks yet. Christopher McKeithen, now your new leader. And Reagan Seville wanted to stop the fighting with Josie Chambers. Wants to be in second. It's almost like, hey, let me lead it, but don't pass me. And then when it's the other way around, it's just, we're racers at the end of the day and want to go out there and lead. Just 2 minutes to go left in this race. About 4 laps left here, Elio. And looking at it, I mean, Josie's looking really quick. You obviously had your eye on him earlier, but with Reagan right behind him as well, it's definitely, he's going to have to go at some point, I think, and take control of this race. Yeah, Reagan has a bunch of speed, as we said, and I think Josie's missing a little bit in the corners, but I think Josie made the right choice, staying in front of Reagan and hoping that he gets the push from Seville. As you can see, it's a defensive move from first position. Looks to the inside. Here comes Josie Chambers. Let's see if he can make it stick. Makes it stick. Here comes Reagan. Oh, McKeithen on into the grass as well. Both of the Coyotes off the racetrack in the same bit of real estate, and now you have 2 of the local kids fighting for the win of this race. Josie Chambers, Reagan Seville in the lead of this race, and Christopher McKeithen, I think, going to fall under fire here shortly as well from Jackson Young, the rookie in this class. Finds himself in 4th, but, man, it's all falling apart for the Precision Performance Karting team here in the closing stages of this race. And now Reagan Seville, Josie Chambers leading the pack away. Yeah, you can see Reagan trying to point to Josie, saying, "Not battle. Let's keep moving forward and let's separate ourselves from McKeithen." But I think they're working together well. And like you said, Jackson Young, another rookie of the senior division, worked with him, coached him a little bit last year. Really good kid as well. Super fast, as you can see, running in the top 5 in his first senior race. So, oh, here goes Reagan on the inside of Josie. They're trying to communicate to each other.
And I think Reagan trying to bargain here with Josie Chambers, telling him to just back off just a little bit. And these two are going to go at it here. We're going to get 3 laps to go, I think. This next time around, 2 laps to go, actually. My mistake. Time has just ran out. Reagan Seville, Josie Chambers all the way to the finish here to define who's going to win the first race of the season. Seville, again, vice champion last year, and Josie Chambers by far the rookie of the year in this 206 category. And Seville just so physical in that go-kart, and for Chambers as well. Honestly, Seville has the upper hand going to the closing stage of this race, and I think Chambers just going to have to take control and try and keep Reagan at bay at the end of this one. Coming to the 2-6 in the air, it's crunch time here for these boys and girls, and Josie definitely going to have to get creative here, Elio, to try and surprise Reagan somewhere. I mean, and both of these kids have a lot of laps at this racetrack, club race after club race, practice session after practice session. So to surprise Reagan at one of his home tracks, I think is going to be very difficult to do.
Yeah, they both grew up racing here, and as you can see, Josie made another mistake going into 4. But if I'm Josie and I see how good Reagan is, I want to get back in front of him and not let him get away, because the further he gets away, the harder it is to make a choice to make a pass. But it looks like the first half of the track, Reagan's better, but last lap, Josie was able to close in on the second half. So, like you said, Josie's going to need to get by here pretty soon, as quick as he can.
And it almost seems like Josie's just that little bit better here throughout the infield section, through the last little bit of the racetrack. But when you get into the S's, when you get into the back straightaway in turn number 6, Reagan seems to really kind of flourish in those corners as well. And it could be a lot of differences, right? It could be gear, it could be driving styles as well. And you see how much more physical Reagan is in that go-kart for Trackside Karting Services GFC. So we'll see. We'll see what Reagan can do, but a car length separates the 2 of them. And again, we said this was the strongest part of the racetrack, this front section with a white flag in the air, a championship that came so close last year. And for Josie, still looking for his maiden senior regional race victory here this weekend. They shared a lot of battles in junior, both of them together, championships as well that were very hard fought. And I think for now, Reagan's looking very, very strong as we go to the last half of the lap here.
Yeah, Josie's just missing a little bit in those double rights leading onto the straightaway, but we'll see if he can close up any going through the second part of the track. They're both driving really well, and like we said, Reagan's had a ton of speed this race, and they're both deserving drivers and really good people as well.
Well, here you have the last couple of corners here for Reagan Seville. Again, a championship that slipped out of his hands at the end of the year. He started off the year perfectly at NOLA with a race victory to his name in what was a great debut season here in the senior ranks, and it's honestly a great, I guess, debut to his sophomore season as well. Last couple of corners here for Reagan. He's starting to look to the fence line. It's been a lot of hard work to get back to this point for the Trackside Karting Services GFC team. It was a hard CKNA Nationals, and says he's here to stay. Reagan Seville, your winner in Houston. Josie Chambers across the line in second. Third for Christopher McKeithen. Jackson Young coming across the line in 4th. Kelvin Zing, Shane Reddy. And you talk about the Coyote boys and a race that kind of fell out of their hands. Overbeck with an issue. McKeithen with one as well. So unfortunate for the 2 of them. Overbeck with a good salvage to finish 8th. But man, what could have been for those 2 on their debut weekend here in Texas. And you talk about the reigning champion Bryce Frank down in 14th. Kelvin Zing no better than 5th on drivers that we expect to be there. And again, you have to wonder what this race would have been if it was dry out here, Elio.
Yeah, I mean, it would have changed it a lot, and I think this is where people say that the rain equalizes the field. It's not so much about motor, and it all depends on the driver mostly. And I think Reagan did what he needed to do. He separated them when he needed to. He was aggressive when he needed to, and made the move towards the end with 4 to go to claim the win.
I know you have a busy year ahead of you. We thank you for joining us. What do you got coming up? I know more races, I guess, on the book for you with the MX5 Cup guys over at BSI, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, that's right. BSI Racing, they're welcomed me really well, and we had a really good first debut at Daytona. And next week we actually go back to St. Pete IndyCar weekend, and yeah, super excited for that, and can't wait to run the rest of the season with them.
Well, there you go. There you guys have from Elio Meza. Thank you very much for joining us. A quick commercial break on our side. Some pickup getting set to go underway, and we'll be right back with more.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
.206 Cadet out onto the racetrack now. Brody Stoffel, Austin Wyatt, Tyler Moraviec, Milo Podoraki on the first 2 rows. Into the tram lines we go. A fast start, green flag in the air. And a good start for that inside line. Brody Stoffel able to get through. Austin Wyatt up to second. Podoraki as well looking for a move. Moraviec able to hold strong. 3 of them get together. More go around further back. One of the Bennick machines, one of the Croc promotions, another one of the factory carts. 4 drivers collected here at the start. Side by side here, Austin Wyatt, Brody Stoffel going through turn number 6, able to work their way through, and a change for the lead here as well for them to work their way through. Tyler Moraviec in there as well, and that's a big battle just right behind them, just paddling it out for the rest of the top 5 and joining us in the booth for the rest of the day. Unfortunate end to your 206 senior race, Cameron, but good to have you here with us.
Yeah, absolutely unfortunate ending to the weekend. It's been a rough weekend, not the best conditions as you guys can see, but happy to be here, really happy with the chassis and how everything performed. Just lost the bumper bolt there towards the end of the race. So yeah, unfortunate, but excited to be here and be back up in the booth.
Yeah, it's I think it's been a while as well. You did a TSRS race as well not too long ago, so I guess a return home for you here with us, and good to have you as always. And these battles here up at the front, I mean, these kids have been going at it all race long. You talk about Brody Stoffel as well on the CRG package like you are, and Tyler Moraviec with the Trackside Karting Services GFC team, and then Austin Wyatt out at the front of the field. And again, talking to Sean Wyatt earlier on this weekend, they were very confident in this. Just felt like something amiss that they didn't understand in the mini Swift class. They couldn't get figured out, and I guess they didn't going into the main event. So that obviously a gremlin for them, but a lot of drivers as well moving up. We talked about Wyatt White in this class as well, and a couple of other ones. I know you haven't been watching too much, focusing on your racing, but from what you have seen so far, I mean, who has kind of impressed you so far, Cameron?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Aston Wyatt's always a very good driver, always out front. You kind of look back to just a few weeks ago where he won at Scoopsa down in Orlando, and so I think it's a great thing to have somebody of such high caliber for some of these guys who maybe still run locally, but what a great sparring partner to have and learn from. And so I think that's what we're kind of seeing right here, where this 276 is going back to back. keeping up with Aston, which I think is one of the coolest things and probably such a good accomplishment, is to know that you're keeping up with a front runner at the national level. It's got to be a confidence boost for sure. So I think Aston White's looking really good. Brody Stoffel as well, as you kind of mentioned, on the CRG package with me. So both doing really, really well, but you got to give it to this trackside karting kid, Tyler Morwick, right?
Yeah, well, it's Moraviec. Apparently, it's a little more European than I would have expected. You could say however you want. His dad gave us permission. Whatever was easier. But yeah, he's been super quick. In second place, he's kind of been in there the entire race. He struggled a little bit in the mini Swift class earlier on today, and he's looking really good in 206. This year, I think, was the first year where they decided to go double duty for the rest of the year. Big sponsorship coming on board for him with CeeLo and XBell as well this year. So he's been getting himself kind of closer and closer to the front of this pack and just knocking on the door of that win here this weekend. It's been up and down, but again, trying moves like that, it's super close. You're fresh off the racetrack. I mean, talk about how difficult it is to kind of go on the inside and try and make these moves stick, especially at a track that's known for a lot of over-unders.
Yeah, especially with the rain and the weather that we're having right now, it's really hard to set up these passes. You normally take the inside to make a pass, but it's kind of hard to keep that momentum up in the rain. Normally the outside, whoever runs the rain line can kind of keep that pace up a little bit more and hold it around the outside. And so that's what we kind of see with Tyler. He keeps trying to send it in and make it work, but Aston's outside rain line that he's running just keeps that momentum up so much more. As soon as they kind of point right out the corner, he's able to go and really get that gap. So it's very, very difficult to set up a pass, and you see a lot of slide jobs just because we don't have a ton of control of the go-kart in the rain. So it'll be difficult for Tyler to get by, but he keeps sticking the nose in, and I think if he can just get on the gas a little bit earlier, he might be able to get what he needs to get that nose in a little bit further.
And from our view up here, it seems like some sections of the racetrack seem to be drying, and others there's obviously a lot of standing water. What kind of sections are almost completely dry or just a lot more dry than others where you can kind of start to find grip on the low side of the racetrack?
Yeah, I think kind of the middle part of the track, exiting 6 off the straightaway, that 7, 8, 9 combo is starting to dry up a little bit. But when you go into the 1, 2, 3 S's, we are still soaking wet out there. It's really hard to get the go-kart to kind of go where you want to go. Over here in 14, it's not too terrible, but you still see a lot of the drivers driving that high line. It's just not quite dry enough yet to kind of maneuver back down to the race line. But the fast guys, you'll see they're kind of searching all over. They're trying different things every now and then. But as you can see there, you saw a lot of water fly off those go-karts through that 1, 2, 3 section. That's the most difficult part, because if you don't get that section right, your whole straightaway, you lose a lot of mile per hour. So your fast guys are finding a decent way to get through there, whereas some of these other guys kind of mid-pack are still sliding through there a lot.
Yeah, Dusty Strayer now looking for a move here on Milo Podoraki. That's for the 5th spot. White not too far ahead of them. And it good to have you in here with us as well to kind of tell us what the track is doing and how it's kind of reacting, and to give you guys at home as well a little perspective of what these drivers are going through lap by lap and race after race. And it continues to change, right? You know, the way the track was for you, it's probably a lot different for these kids as well, with about 40 206s out there on the racetrack earlier today. So it's going to continue to change. And when we get into KE Senior, the biggest thing that I kind of talked about, I predicted a dry race there. We obviously had a lot of mist, so I'm not sure if that's all going to happen, but it is very, very intermediate, and it's almost like those rain tires are starting to get cooked up just a little bit more, and it just depends on how you saved them throughout the day. And again, for these young drivers, Strayer has been really, really strong in his sophomore season and his rookie season, really, in 206 Cadet, his first full year of cadet racing, and for White as well, his second year of cadet racing. A lot of these drivers are kind of starting to come into their own. But again, the drivers out in front, Moraviec, Wyatt, Stoffel, who have the experience, who have the seat time, they're kind of starting to flourish here a little bit as well.
Yeah, and we just saw shortly the 223 make that pass on the 222. Podoraki, if that's how you pronounce it, is looking pretty quick. Was able to get around Strayer and got up to the bumper pretty quickly on that next car up of White. So looking pretty quick. You see they're kind of sliding around a little bit, trying to hold on to the go-kart, but that's kind of the key in the rain, is to roll as much speed as possible around these corners. Keep that momentum up, especially in these 206 motors. There's not a lot of bottom end. So yeah, track is definitely changing a lot. I think having as many 206 seniors on the track as we did probably dried it up a little bit for these guys. But still, it's kind of misting outside. So I don't predict it'll be fully dry, but as Caleb kind of said, I think that a dry line will start to kind of form. But it'll be moments like this that we see right now, a pass. Oh,
side by side there, White and Podoraki didn't seem too happy there on the exit of that corner. So, yeah, the two of them continue to fight, and this is just on the edge of the top 5, like we mentioned before. You have a lot of drivers as well. Further back, you have Todd, Lehan, Lasek, Howie, Anderson, all inside of the top 15, as well as Vargas, who finds herself in the 15th spot. Samson, Kim Short, and Jolivet as well, down to 19th. So 19 drivers total in this class, and again, they continue to go out, and you look at the lap times that these drivers are running compared to the leaders, it's about a second difference. You have 112s for Aston Wyatt, Moraviec, and Brody Stoffel, who's about was 6 tenths off the last lap prior. And then you have 113s from Wyatt and back, and this is just for Ford. So you have your podium runners all running just that little bit quicker in the 112s and the 113s back with these drivers, which is, lap by lap, a tenth isn't a lot of time, right? But every single lap in racing, it almost seems like an eternity.
Yeah, it definitely adds up, and one little mistake in one corner will hurt you a lot, especially when we have such long straightaways that we see here. But yeah, I think these kids are doing a very, very good job at holding on to these go-karts. It's hard to drive in the rain. It's unpredictable. Finding that limit is very difficult, and as you kind of said earlier, these tires are starting to fall away. We've done a lot of rain racing over the past couple of days. Some sessions look like this, where we're not having active rain, the track's kind of drying out. This wears the tires down a lot more, a lot quicker, versus Heat 3 for me yesterday was pouring rain. So in those kind of sessions, the tires don't really have too much degradation, but when we're driving like this, where the track's starting to dry out, not a lot of puddles, these tires are starting to fall away very quickly, and it makes it very hard to hold that go-kart around the edge and find that limit.
And especially for these main events being 15 minutes long, that's a very, very long race, right? To be able to kind of, and your equipment's going to change lap after lap. The grip you have is going to change lap after lap, and that's the biggest thing, right? Adjusting to it. And in 206, I think in any of the lower classes outside of the shifter, you don't think about the tire degradation. You don't think about these other things that you maybe do have to. And with rain tires, I think that all changes, right? Whenever you are going and you're leaning on the tires, you're pushing them just that little bit more. All that starts to change lap after lap, and you have to adjust. And for a driver like Aston Wyatt, who's the first one to get to every spot, especially in the rain, he's the first one to get to that puddle, and that puddle is going to change for drivers behind. He's the first one to kind of test the waters, to test the curb, see where he can go faster, see where he can brake later. That's also the hardest part about it, to be out in front, especially in the rain, which is why I think we've seen a lot of mistakes out of some of the drivers out in front. We saw it unfortunately happen to Stoffel. We saw it happen to Schneegenberg as well in the first two races of the day, just with that track continuing to progressively change. And it's just variables, like you said, it's so hard to understand it, and to, especially at such a young age. I mean, I couldn't imagine for some of the young drivers going out there and understanding it and the changing of this track. And this shows you kind of the better understanding up at the front as well.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very difficult, as you stated. But honestly, what Aston's probably not struggling with, that a lot of the other drivers are, is visibility. With him having nobody in front, none of that rain and water coming off of those tires, he's able to see a lot more. When you kind of get into those packs that we see a little bit more towards the middle, where they're really tight, there's a lot of rooster tails coming off those tires. It gets really foggy and really hard to see, and so that's kind of preventing some of those middle drivers from running as fast as they probably could, just based off visibility. But Aston Wyatt's looking really good, really comfortable, and very, very consistent. If you watch him lap to lap, corner to corner, it looks like he's doing pretty much the same thing every single time. So he's got a really good understanding of how that go-kart handles right now, and he looks very, very comfortable.
Yeah, Moraviec as well has really gotten comfortable kind of in the rain here, just 3 tenths off. And again, just could be little differences, could be gear, could be a lot of things. And the gear, I feel like, is the most important in 206 especially. A lot of people just kind of either add more front to the go-kart. We talked to McKeithen yesterday. They just like adding more front, and the gear will kind of solve itself. But, what kind of advice would you give anybody that is in this class that has to find that little bit of extra time, especially with the wind? I know there's a big gust of wind, which also adds to the gear if it's going onto the front straight, or if it's a side wind right now, it seems like, or almost a tailwind. So, little things that you kind of have to adjust to, especially with the rain as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people do throw a lot of gear on there, 4 or 5 teeth sometimes, depending on the track layout. Obviously, this has a very long straightaway, but you want to have that little bit more off the bottom end to help you kind of get out of those corners, since you are sliding it a lot more. So we saw some of the faster guys in my class starting to hit the rev limiter around that start-finish line here on the front straightaway, or maybe a little bit after going into turn 1. So they're definitely stacking a lot more teeth on, trying to get more off the bottom end, which allows for them to hit the rev limiter a lot more. But yeah, they definitely widen up the front, maybe soften up the rear a little bit, throw in a softer axle, whatever you can, just to keep a little bit more grip in the car to make it a little bit easier to drive. Because when it's sliding all around, it's very unpredictable and hard, especially for these little guys to hold on to it and be consistent.
And again, a softer axle, more grip, a wider front gives you more kind of front end bite, which the cart will turn in just a little bit quicker and a little bit pointier, which kind of helps in these wet weather conditions as well. So it's just little things like that I feel like make and break people's races as well. And learning, right? For a lot of people, I heard yesterday kind of walking around, some drivers saying, yeah, that was the first time I ever drove in the rain. And myself and Riley, our producer here, we're kind of talking about on, drivers shying away from the racetrack when it does rain and not wanting to go out there, not wanting to put that extra time just because it's colder, because they're going to get wet. And you have the drivers that are up ahead in the lead of this race that you see put in that extra time, that extra seat time to go out there and try and get better in all conditions, really.
Right, and Brody Stoffel on your screen right here. He's also looking pretty comfortable. He's got a little bit of a gap to the guy in front of him, but maybe he'll be able to pick up the pace a little bit, about 0.3 off that last lap. But I think he's looking pretty good. You never know. Anything can happen. One little mistake, maybe get a little bit sideways, and he could be back in this thing. It's very, very doable. But yes, some of these kids, it might be their first time racing in the rain, or at least the whole weekend, kind of like this in the in-between. I find that the in-between is the hardest to drive. When it's full raining and pouring, you only got one option. You have to run rain line all the way on the outside. You go full rain setup. When it's dry, it's what you're used to. But this kind of in-between is very, very difficult to drive and tune to because the track is actively changing, as we talked about quite a bit. So, yeah, this is difficult to drive. You kind of have to search around, move around the track, try dry line, try wet line, and try to see what works, find that balance. But one kid that is running with me this weekend, Mikey Todd, who's in 8th right now, this is his 3rd race ever. Ooh, big spin there. Big spin. And
Milo not happy there once again. Just cannot catch a break here in this one. You saw him kind of upset here in turn 15 and there again in turn 11. Just unfortunate there for the factory kart, just trying to get back into it. And again, you just see the passion kind of come out of these kids and signaling to the parents there as well. Nothing you can do about it now, right? Just gotta get on with it, put your head down, and continue to go out there on the racetrack. And again, one of your guys, right? Mikey Todd out there in 8th at the moment.
Yeah, this is 3rd race ever. He got a go-kart for Christmas from us. I did a few practice days with him. He did 1.5 club races. He got into a crash in his first club race. Won his first full club race, and we said, hey, let's take you to Texas, see how you do. His first time in the rain, first time at night. I could not be more proud of this kid. It's definitely somebody to look out for in the future. So had to give him a little bit of a shout out because as we talked about some of these kids' first time in the rain, this is his first time ever on track with this many go-karts.
Yeah, and it's been like that for a lot of the other kids, right? Sometimes for some of the kids here local to Houston, I know first time at a regional race with that many junior drivers that come from all over, sometimes the country to come out here and race. And for these kids to come out here and race here this weekend is one of the biggest things for them to come out here and learn. Black flag for a driver further back in the field. Aston Wyatt working his way through. And I think we're getting close to that 2-lap mark. And indeed, 2 laps to go left in this race. Aston Wyatt with a lap and a half to go. 13 laps into this race. We're coming to the closing stage. It's the 2 of 7 there on your screen now of Vargas. Finds yourself out in the 10th spot. And more drivers out there. But for Aston Wyatt, it's been a struggle all day today to kind of get himself back to where he had to be. He was, in the mini Swift class, not the speed that just they had all weekend long prior to this, and just missed it there in the end. But in 206 Cadet, he's really started to come into his own. For this kid, 11 years old, big accomplishments so far this year in the national scene, and he's continuing to get better year after year, and you're seeing that here this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll get 2 to go this time by. And he does have a pretty solid gap to Tyler right behind him. But, like we kind of talked about, anything could happen. He could get a little bit sideways. Anything could happen in these last couple of laps. But he's looking really comfortable, and I think he's got a pretty solid gap to make this happen. Here, exiting the last corner, white flag, my apologies. White flag, 1 lap to go, final lap for Aston Wyatt.
Final lap here for Aston Wyatt. One more go around, and Moraviec still finds himself there in the 2nd spot. Stoffel in 3rd, and a lot more further back. White, one of the drivers that I was kind of mentioning earlier on the Croc promotion out of New Braunfels, Texas. Out there, he finds himself in 4th, so a good showing. And for Dusty Strayer as well, moved up from Kid Kart last year, did 2 races I think, as well. So he finds himself up inside of the top 5, and he's getting himself within a good run here to start off his season in 2025. But for Aston Wyatt, a huge climb back for him. I know he wanted to go 2 for 2 at his home track. It's not going to be exactly what he wanted, but I'm sure he'll be happy with half a track left to go with a race win if all stays well for him here in 206 Cadet. And for Tyler Moraviec as well, on a big year for him with a lot of sponsors coming on what's set to be a really, really good year, an exciting year, doing double duty across all the major nationals. He's excited to bring it home here, a podium for Trackside Karting Services GFC. But for Aston Wyatt, didn't come to fruition the first time. The second time, it does. Aston Wyatt puts him to sleep. Checkered flag in the air. He wins in Houston. Moraviec across the line second. Brody Stoffel, your top 3 and on the podium.
Yeah, what a drive for Aston Wyatt. We can kind of take a second to talk about consistency. He was running 2 to 3 tenths off of his fastest lap throughout that whole entire race. His second to last lap, only 3 tenths off of his purple time. That's just what you're kind of seeing with some of these top-notch drivers, such as Aston, who come from a national karting background. That consistency that they have to be able to put similar laps every single lap. That's all it takes to pull away. The driver who makes the least mistakes will win the race. That's what I like to go by. And so having consistency like that is what you need to win races. And for Aston Wyatt, it was a breeze. He was able to pull away and takes the victory here in Houston.
Yeah, you look at the laps here for Aston Wyatt, you're talking about his consistency of 1:12.3, 1:12.2, 12:2, 12:2, 12:1, 12:0, 12:1, 12:2, and then so far, and so it's just consistency all the way down. And for those of you guys asking what the black flag represents here in our live chat, it means race is unofficial, so something either happened with the finish of the race and the order isn't correct. So usually the double checkered with a black flag. Again, either pro-race penalties or something coming for somebody post-race. Again, more to come your way as the results continue to update here for us. But provisionally, Aston Wyatt, your winner in 206 Cadet. K.A. Masters, 206 Junior, and K.A. Senior coming up here next. Pickup getting set to go underway. Quick commercial break from our side. We'll be right back with more.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
If you want to see a giant selection of beautiful new dining room tables, chairs, servers, come out to Gallery Furniture see with the latest and greatest dining room furniture. Best of all, buy this dining room furniture today, solid wood. Gallery Furniture delivers free to Houston area home today.
I'm Alex Speed, the team principal here at SpeedSportz Racing. We have an elite karting program. We really focus on giving the drivers the tools they have to take to the next level. We don't really want to, it's important to win racing and go-karting, but really give the kids the tools they need to hopefully become professional racing drivers. We're on the OTK Red Speed Kart. We have our own in-house motor program with Speed Lab. We do really competitive in the national races, but again, our main focus is really giving the the kids, the tools they have, looking at data, looking at video to really give them arsenal to go on to car racing and hopefully be successful.
Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/speedconceptsracing or email us at speedconceptsracing@gmail.com.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Welcome back here. Main events continue to go underway. 3 to go here on the opening weekend of the Texas Racing Series in 2025. Miguel Mir and Trevor McAllister on row number 1. Gary Glanger, Shane Burkett on row number 2. Daniel Howie, Bren Harper on row number 3. Pierce Baldus, David Pregande on row number 4. Slade Miller and Janae Din on row 5. You go back to Neil Faulkner, Doug Barry, as you were saying, a return to racing action this weekend as well. He finds himself on row number 6. Anthony Harwin and Kyle Hale on row 7. Jonathan Westcott, Curtis Terry on row number 8. Any advice for Doug before this race gets going? I know he's not going to be able to hear you, but I guess, what have you seen so far from him this weekend?
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool to see him back in the seat. We talked with him a little bit earlier this weekend, and he said Brooke's in college. She's not able to get into the seat, so I'm going to hop in it. And so super, super cool to see him in the seat. And yeah, I don't have much advice for him, but just kind of keep your head up and try to avoid the chaos as much as possible, and just, start to dig once everything kind of clears up. As they go green flag here, Miguel gets a little bit of a jump. It looks like Shane Burkett's able to follow him through as we head into the back turn 4 and 5. Still single file, nothing too crazy going on as one goes a little bit wide, Trevor McAllister, but he's able to slot back in as we head back down the back straightaway.
And again, a long time out of the seat here for T-Mac, but he's looking to get a move back on Brent Harper there on the back straightaway. Side by side further back, Howie, Glanger, side by side. Pregande looking on the inside, and you were talking about the slide jobs there as well. You have one from Pregande looking to get 2 moves in the process. He gets ahead of Brent Harper, so hey, look to work there for a second. Harper going to go over the curb. He looks to get back through, and McAllister and Burkett side by side on the exit. And a fella, I guess, statement for you over in Louisiana with Shane Burkett, who sits in 3rd and a little bit of a half spin there on the exit of 11.
Yeah, no, Louisiana native that I've raced a lot with over the years. Yeah, you kind of see a little bit different driving style. Trevor's using those curbs a little bit more to make those passes versus Shane's kind of running that outside line. That's a little bit what we talked about with the younger guys, kind of searching, trying to find different ways to pick up that pace as Shane kind of falls back. Trevor McAllister now able to get back through and set his sights back on Miguel, who has a little bit more of a gap than he probably would like.
And again, you talk about Miguel Mir's kind of years in this class. It's been all about him in recent years. Pierce Baldus was the only one to be able to take him out of the top step when it came down to the championship. And last year, I'm not sure if Miguel was really able to get a win last year. He was close a couple of times, but I don't think he was able to get one last year. So it's been quite some time for Miguel Mir out of the top step of the podium. And for a couple of these drivers. That's quite some time out of the go-kart for Trevor McAllister, and this weekend, it's like he's never left. Finds himself up in a second. Brent Harper in third, who we saw a lot last year as well. And then more and more drivers as well getting themselves into the mix. Burkett, good couple of attempts, and we saw the same thing out of him yesterday. Made some attempts and then just kind of struggled to make him sick. And now I think this track is going to come to him with the dry line starting to form just little by little. And this battling is not going to help him out too much. Miguel Muir going to continue to run away here, Cameron.
Right, they're going side by side. T-Mac able to kind of squeeze it out and get back on the inside and have the line there going through 1 and 2. If I were him, I'd probably be getting a little bit frustrated. We see the leader kind of pulling away. If I was him, I'd want to work together and try to catch that leader before it gets too late. But Brent Harper must think he's a little bit quicker. We do have one go-kart stalled exiting turn 10, heading towards turn 11, right next to the front straightaway. I'm not sure who that is. We'll have to get a name on him as Brent Harper goes back on T-Mac, exiting turn 6. So yeah, they're battling back and forth. Got to be a little bit frustrating. We see another pass there going into turn 7.
Yeah, David Pregande going side by side with Daniel Howie, and I know a lot of you watching on from home cheering Danny on with Texas Karts this weekend out of New Braunfels, Texas. And there you go, side by side, David Pregande a little bit too deep into the corner. I think he may have gotten some help in there. Hit the rear bumper and just spun him around. Unfortunate for David Pregande. Looping around, is going to get past there as well. And you talked about that Salt Go-Kart. Janae Den, unfortunately for Cruise Racing Development, finds himself in the cut-through out of this race early. Unfortunate there for Janae, and he could have had some help there as well. A lot of the cones that were kind of blocking that off were scattered all over the racetrack. Look at the lap times here in between Brent Harper and Miguel Muir. Quickest lap last time around. He's going about 0.3 quicker than Miguel Muir, and he has a lot of time to get back up there. 11 minutes, a very, very long race ahead of us here, Cameron.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like Brent Harper has been able to get around T-Mac and actually pull a decent gap as we see T-Mac and Shane Burkett starting to go at it a little bit. So Brent Harper was definitely a little bit quicker. He's able to pull away from T-Mac and start to set his sights on Miguel Muir and potentially start to reel him back in, as you kind of said, a lot of time here. But it looks like Brent Harper is purple and is the fastest on the track by about 0.3 that time by. So he has plenty of time to start to reel that gap back in and maybe have something for Miguel here in a little bit.
And again, we were just talking about it with Austin Wyatt, right? The thing is consistency, setting lap time after lap time and getting up there as well as this race continues to progress and, battling early on, which is what allowed Miguel Muir to kind of get out in front and pull away. But that gap is closing in, and you can visibly see it on the exit here out through our window. That gap closed by a significant margin, half a second. Brent Harper closed down that gap by half a second on Miguel Muir, and Trevor McAllister as well, still looking for time in that third spot. So he's getting closer. Brent Harper, I think, going to be within a real shot at challenging for that race win here on Miguel Muir, who's really been in a class of his own all weekend long, pulled away from the rest of the field. And you see it now. Now, if Miguel didn't know that Brent was closing in, he's definitely going to see him in his peripheral vision.
Yeah, Brent Harper has been able to close in a little bit quicker than I expected. As you see here, he's already on the rear bumper of Miguel Muir, so exponentially quicker than Miguel. But I will admit it is a lot easier to follow than lead. So it's very, we see a path attempt there from Brent on Miguel Muir, not able to stick it, but it's very, very possible that once Brent gets around Miguel, that Miguel can potentially hang with him, and we'll see a battle continue. But for now, they're continuing to run that outside rain line as Brent Harper really closes that gap.
And again, you said it, right? It's a lot easier to follow somebody. It's a lot easier to have somebody to chase. It's kind of like a game of cat and mice, right? If you want to look back at TV shows, Tom and Jerry, whatever, and you have cat and mice, right? The mice obviously being Miguel Muir here in this situation. Then it's going to flip-flop as well when Brent Harper, if he does get ahead and you see Miguel kind of wanting that help, wanting that push to go ahead, but it's just Brent is that little, he's just that much quicker than Miguel in some of the sections of the racetrack, and Miguel's been out in front all weekend long. He hasn't seen a different line. He hasn't seen something new. He hasn't, seen a fresh set of eyes looking at the same racetrack that he has, and you're seeing the different approaches, right? A lot wider through the double rights. Brent Harper more attacking, more over the curbs, more aggressive approach to the racetrack than Miguel Muir, who's taking the traditional rain line. But this track is drying. There is those dry patches of racetrack that are kind of creating a new racetrack for them to race on. And for Brent Harper, he is getting a lot closer. And I think when Miguel Muir gets behind and sees the differences, sees where the time can be found, is where he's going to kind of flourish here a little bit. or we just never see a change to the lead, right? Miguel's very strong on the exit here of turn number 15, so we're going to see the S's, though, still very, very damp.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you kind of mentioned, you see two different driving styles here. Brent Harper, as he kind of slides in, tries to get on the inside there, just doesn't quite have the run. But Brent Harper is kind of charging those entries a little bit harder, whereas Miguel Mears giving up that entry and really attacking that exit. As you guys can see here, Brent Harper tries to slide it in again on the inside, just not quite enough. Miguel's taking that nice wide line. We really see the difference here where Brent tries to use that curb there versus Miguel runs it nice and wide. So they'll continue to end up side by side just due to that different driving style where Brent's really attacking that entry versus Miguel's kind of giving up the entry for the exit. As we see a nice pass attempt there, and it looks like he'll be able to get it done, potentially over under. No. Brent Harper now your leader here in Houston.
Yeah, and again, he's been trying that, right? He's been going low. We saw Jake French do that yesterday in the KA Senior heat races where you go low, you use a curb to kind of help you turn and launch you through the corners, which is what Brent Harper's doing, a more aggressive approach, which is now what we're seeing more and more drivers start to do, right? More and more drivers kind of get surprised. When you have a fresh set of eyes looking at a racetrack, I think Aiden Rudolph is one of the biggest ones where he knows how to drive around this place, right? He knows how to go around this place, but you have a fresh set of eyes in Jose Carlos Hernandez and Jake French as well that kind of show you a new approach at something that you're kind of set on, right? So it gives you a fresh perspective at something that you know how to do it and to try new things as well, especially with a changing racetrack. And again, see the differences in lines. And I think the key thing here for Miguel Mir is to realize that just a little bit, to see the differences that are kind of going on. And this is a big battle here further back. Pierce Baldus going through, Shane Burkett, Trevor McAllister, Slade Miller in the mix as well. Baldus able to stay ahead.
Yeah, this is so much fun to watch these battles, even in these older classes. You know, these guys are just having the time of their lives. It's such a great thing to still see a lot of competition in these little bit older classes. I mean, look, I still think some of these guys could be pretty dang competitive in the senior class. These drivers are really good, and you see Shane thinking about potentially going to the inside, doesn't quite do it, but now he goes into the inside in turn 14 on Trevor McAllister. Kind of closes that door a little bit. Trevor tries to over-under him, but doesn't quite have it. So these two are going back and forth. You want to make sure that Pierce doesn't get too far away because this is still a battle for 4th, 5th, 6th position. And as we see, Miller starting to join that group as well.
Yeah, Slade Miller not too far back. And that move by Shane Burkett also super interesting because you go in turn number 14 and kind of use yourself as a pick, right? And don't let the driver behind you to go ahead or to even move to the right because that's just so much momentum that you're scrubbing whenever you do go to the right. And more moves here. Slade Miller getting himself into the mix up in a turn 6 actually. And him and Trevor McAllister still side by side. T-Mac able to stay ahead for now. The battle for the lead still stay the same. Brent Harper, Miguel Mir, half a second in between each other, and these two continuing to go at it here on the racetrack for T-Mac, who long time out of the seat, back this weekend wants to run the entire year, and I think he will, considering how this race has gone with all the competitiveness that's been out there with all these drivers. So this time around, just under 5 minutes to go, plus 2 laps, so still a long time, and anything can happen here in this race, Cameron.
Absolutely, and we saw another driver enter the pits there. I believe it was the 427 of Curtis Terry. We'll see as they start to pass the line here if he doesn't pick up that lap. I believe he entered the pits and is out of this race. Or it could have been Neil Faulkner. I'm not too sure which one it was, but another driver off and into the pits. But as you said, yes, just under 5 minutes to go. A lot can still happen, but for Brent Harper, he's looking really strong out front, continuing to open that gap for Miguel Mir. He's the fastest go-kart on track by about 4/10 per lap. So he's feeling real comfortable and real happy with his setup at the moment.
There's Brent Harper out in front, leading away. He's pitting out of a garage here at SpeedSportz Racing Park this weekend. Bryce Frank's garage, actually, here just on the backside near the tire barn. He was going to pit under the AR Academy tent, pitted by himself, just been trying to keep warm, has had the door closed mostly all weekend long, has a heater in there that's been keeping him warm, been working out of that garage all weekend long, and has been doing a good job, right? A solo operation for him and for Cruise Racing Development as well with Miguel Mir, who's in second. I mean, they have been dominant for who knows how many years here, whenever it was Texas Pro Kart Challenge as well. Miguel Mir with many regional championships to his name, and again this year it's been an effort to get himself back up to the top step, and he's been chipping away at it little by little. He's been chipping away at it, and And this year, it's a really good start to it. Last year, he was, I think, off of the podium out in NOLA, and this year he's looking pretty good, just right behind Brent Harper as we get to the closing stages. A change for third as well. Daniel Howie for Texas Karts finds himself up into the podium places. Pierce Baldus not too far back in fourth. The reigning champ again. Just the weekend hasn't been kind to him, right? A DNF for him in heat race number 1, and then a claw back up in heat race number 2 and heat 3. But again, starting far back in the field, it's difficult to make those moves as the weekend goes on in such strict conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure Pierce is sporting a new helmet this weekend. I believe he just got a new lid done. So he's probably a little bit upset that he's having to run it in the rain and get it all wet. But, yeah, I mean, he's been very quick all last season. And it looks like he might just be struggling a tad bit for pace this weekend. But overall, P4 still running very, very quick times. Just about half a second off of the leader or so. I would like to clarify Neil Faulkner is still on the track. For all you fans at home watching, that is completely my mistake. And I'm pretty sure it was Curtis who has since retired off the track. For all you fans at home, my apologies for that mistake. Neil Faulkner is still on the track, running in the 10th position, doing very, very well.
Anthony Harwin behind him, and Doug Berry as well out there on the racetrack in 12th. I think his son John Berry as well out here racing this weekend in the K100 senior class, which we're going to see in about 30 minutes time. But just a minute and a half to go, and the Masters drivers have put on a show. But at the start of the race, since then, everybody's kind of been tame, and Brent Harper has ran away with it so far. Again, we've seen the youngest drivers kind of make some mistakes, and some of the older ones as well. We'll see how he looks. And you have the new lid, I think, for Pierce Baldus as well here this weekend. Became a dad last year as well for him, and good to see him out here in issues for the 435. And I think that is indeed Doug Berry out of this race early. So unfortunate. Your advice sadly did not work. And out of this race early for Doug Berry, just on the exit of double rights.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate for Doug. But I think he's just excited to be back in the seat and just have some fun. He's really excited. He was really happy to be here and just have a good time. And I think that's what a lot of these guys are going for. Wins are great, but I think a lot of these guys are just having fun, being able to take off on the weekends and have a good enough time to be able to come and drive. As you see Shane Burkett on your screen right now in that 5th position, still running that outside lane. You see that inside wheel start to jack. They're definitely still using a lot of steering input, trying to get that car to turn. I don't think the track is drying up as much as we would like it to be. There's really no sun out here in Houston this weekend. Very, very cloudy and overcast. And so we were hoping, me and Caleb both, that if that sun maybe peaked out a little bit, we could see somebody like the K senior class maybe have more of a dry track, but the clouds are just not wanting that to happen this weekend.
Yeah, and still misting, right? I mean, looking out of our window here, it's still very misty as well. So I think a dry racetrack intermediate is probably the best we're going to get here as well today. So we'll see as well. 2 races left to go, but again, the mist just kind of keeping the track just very green for everybody, very damp as well. 2 laps to go this time by for your entire field. We're going around with Daniel Howie in the 3rd spot with Texas Karts and TB Kart operation in partnership with Slipstream Racing as well. Baldus just right behind him, but got to work our way up. The final 2 laps, your leader Brent Harper has kept it smooth sailing all the way through. Him and his Kart Republic have been working together flawlessly in these tricky conditions. And again, those chassis are known for being very soft, which means, obviously very grippy. And in situations like this, they definitely seem to flourish.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of deja vu from the race we just had. All of our top 3, top 4 guys are really spaced out. Not too much contention going on or battling these last 2 laps or so. We're riding along with Miguel Mir currently. You see he has a pretty solid gap to David Howie behind him. Daniel Howie, my apologies. But Brent Harper is also a good 5 or 6 kart lengths up the road. He would have to have a substantial lap or a massive mistake from Brent Harper to see that gap close. So I think we'll pretty much ride like this until the checkered flag. But for now, Brent Harper looking very strong. Miguel, still a very, very good run and very good weekend. Very tricky conditions. As you see, the track is continuing to change. You're starting to see less and less water flying off these tires, kind of showing you that this track is really drying up, just not as quickly as we would have liked.
Yeah, and again, I think if we had a mobile camera here this weekend, we could take a look at the tires and you could see the degradation on them as well. Again, going through puddles like that, definitely going to help their life out just a little bit. And this section as well, I mean, being the trickiest part of the racetrack, it doesn't give you enough time, especially on such a tight double right-hander, to dry off enough when you get onto this back straightaway. So still rain tires. Honestly, if anybody were to try the slicks, it definitely wouldn't benefit them at all. So we'll see how this race continues to go on. But with the white flag in the air, the final lap around for Brent Harper, we talked about him and the work he's put in. Did a couple of races last year and you know, had a couple of good showings as well. Had some good races, had some good showings. Was at DKC. He was involved in that wreck where our 6 leaders got collected in that one. And I think that's one of the most memorable moments in this Masters class that we've had over the last 3 years in our time streaming it as well. But for Brent Harper, the most memorable moment for him is going to be today. A win for him at home. Last couple of corners for Brent Harper. Out of his garage, a thumbs up to everybody at the sidelines. Brent Harper going to take the win in Houston. Across the line in second, Miguel Mir, Daniel Howie. Nice little drift. Texas Karts, New Braunfels onto the podium. And across the line, Pierce Baldus, reigning champ. A top 5 finish for him. Shane Burkett next across the line in 5th. Slade Miller and Trevor McAllister falling back to 7th. So I think McAllister actually got the better of Miller there. So McAllister up to 6th, Slade Miller up to 7th, Glanger to Pregande, to Neil Faulkner, your top 10, Anthony Harwin, Curtis Terry, Janae Jen-Calhale, 2 DNFs, and a couple of more. Pickup getting set to go underway. 206 Junior coming up next. KA Senior, the headline class here at the Texas Run Racing Series, coming up in about 30 minutes' time. We'll be right back on the other side of this break.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready.
Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask your question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
To the finish line. Who is it going to be? And it's Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
and welcome back to this Texas Sprint Racing Series. As you guys saw there was a few pickups in that KA Masters class, but the 206 juniors are on track for their outlap and going to get set to go green here shortly. Sawyer Chambers will lead us off from the pole. Eva Blim in second. Rodrigo Paloya in third. Levi Vidor will round out that second row. Francisco Reyes and Brandon Green on the third row. Easton Walker and Thomas Smith on the fourth row. On the fifth row will be Presley Peterson and Holton Edwards. Dean Greger and Dustin Walker on that sixth row. And rounding out your field will be Micah Masad and Mia Johnson for your 206 junior class, as we're starting to grid up exiting turn 14 and getting set to go green here shortly.
We get set to go green here. Sawyer Chambers, Ava Blem, both drivers who have been really quick. The only two drivers actually who have won heat races so far this weekend. A better average for Sawyer Chambers. He's going to start on the inside. Ava Blem seemed to flourish yesterday, though, when she did start on the outside line. Got a couple of moves done from there. So, again, don't count her out just yet. Had a rough third heat race, but, again, she's back here and expect to see her have a good number of pace. Again, Meter was the driver who qualified on the pole position for Nevada Kart Sport. And a lot of other drivers as well. Poloya as well for Santana Racing Company. Brillard based here out of SpeedSportz Racing Park. We'll see what they can do, but into the tram lines we go. We're racing here in 206 Junior, and Sawyer Chambers, what a jump for this kid, only 10 years old. Showing the older kids kind of how it's done. Poloya able to get through. Francisco Reyes stuck there as well, and he's been able to work their way through. But everybody, single file going on the back straightaway, side by side for a couple further back. Brandon Green, it looks like side by side with Francisco Reyes, looking to go in for third, for fourth, fifth. My apologies, and two drivers get collected. Smith, who was quick yesterday, unfortunately Thomas Smith out of this one early here, Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's able to get back going, but definitely very, very frustrating. Knowing you have some pace and ending up a little spun around on the first lap. That happened to me in a few heat races, and it was definitely very, very frustrating. But as you see, a nice little pack here as Reyes tries to send it back down on the inside. Can he make it stick? Yes, he's able to make it stick. As that kind of shows us that this track is drying up a little bit more when these passes are able to really, really stick from the inside. We saw a little bit earlier, just a few classes ago, when somebody would enter the inside, they would really slide out a lot. So an over-under there. Francisco gets back past. Looks like a little bit of frustration there from the TV kart, the 309 of green. Francisco Reyes is able to get back by. So it looks like we got a nice little battle going on for that 5th and 6th position. Sawyer Chambers out front. He's got a little bit of a gap. He's got a lot of time here. Very, very good driver. Very, very competitive in the cadet classes. So they decided to move him up early, and he is showing the older kids how it's done with a nice 20 to 30 kart length gap exiting that back straightaway.
Yeah, he's, I mean, really, he's really coming to his own here in the junior class, and you see the gap he's putting on the rest of the field as they continue to fight there further back. Poloya, Meter, two Burrell Arts pushing each other along. Ava Blem there as well. I think another Burrell Art as well. So 3 Burrell Arts, 1 Intrepid out in the front of this field, pushing each other into turn number 11. And again, Sawyer, just a very lively kid as well. Super happy to be here and always happy to mess around with whoever. I know him and Kelvin Zing actually down here have a really good relationship, and the two of them always go back and forth. But we look here on the racetrack Meter as well. One of the first times that we're seeing him out here in TSRS Racing action. We see Ava Blem almost every year, her and her younger brother Drew, and always have good results. And you see her speed here so far, looking on the inside, doesn't want to back out into turn number 2 and getting her elbows out. Just not enough momentum there to go through. And again, we talk about that first section here, Cameron. The first sector of this racetrack is still super, super tricky.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can see there's still a lot of water in that section, a lot of rooster tail coming off those tires, versus when we kind of shift a little bit further down the racetrack, it looks to be a little bit more dry. So as you see, these drivers are running a little bit more narrow than what we saw earlier in the day, still on that rain line, not quite full race line yet, as they continue to go side by side into turn 8. It's gonna stay single file for now, but Eva Blim, she's got some pace on her. We saw she was able to pull out a heat race win today, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we see her attempt another move here shortly as they kind of stagger a little bit. Side-by-side action, but the 316 will not be able to slip through and will have to fall back into single file line.
Yeah, and again, just got to be careful with how much they want to battle, especially getting to the closing stage of this race. We're not even halfway through yet, so there's so much time, but it's very easy to let a driver like Sawyer Chambers get away. And again, he's done a lot of practices, his home track, in a lot of different categories and whatnot. So he's not characteristic for making mistakes, and he's going to stay out there in front. But everybody else just kind of still battling, and you look back at the day that Sawyer Chambers had yesterday. He was pointing at the motor and was saying he was having some engine issues, and that's exactly what it was, right? So they got that fixed, and he's able to kind of pull away from the rest of the field, and you see what happens when his equipment is kind of all there. And again, anything can happen. We've all been through some sort of question mark gremlin that we don't know where it came from. So Sawyer, for him to be there to identify that as well at only 10 years old is it's one of the coolest things to see. And then you have other drivers here as well. Eva been really quick, and we'll see how she works well with Levi Meter and how long it kind of takes them to get up there. And again, you look at the lap times here, Cameron, a 1:12.9 for Sawyer last time by, a 1:13.7 for Rodrigo, and for Levi as well, 1:13.6 for Eva, a 1:13.8. So those lap times aren't where they need to be if they want to, become a challenge for Sawyer Roustel in this junior class.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Meter and Blim able to get by Paloya that lap, and we'll see if they're able to pick up that speed a little bit. But as you kind of stated, their pace is just not quite there if they want to contest with Sawyer Chambers. That time by only 1/10 off of Sawyer for Meter and about a match for Blim. So they were able to pick up that pace a little bit once they got past Paloya. But yes, I know the Chambers family very, very well. I actually sold them one of their first go-karts ever to the boys. So Sawyer's a great kid. He's definitely very lively. He's got a lot of personality to him. But he is so excited to run this junior class and just have a little bit more competition. He felt like he was very, very confident with his ability in the cadet. And so I kind of talked with his parents a little bit. They asked me for my advice if we should move him up. And I said, absolutely. As we have one driver off the racetrack, I'll have to check who that is in just a second. But Sawyer Chambers still out front, looking great. Eva, Blim, and Meter still on your screen as they're trying to work together to run back down Chambers on this next lap.
Yeah, so that driver that you saw off the racetrack there, I believe was the 374 of Presley Rose Peterson, unfortunately, off the racetrack, down on 11th now. So unfortunate. She also showed some really good pace, top 5 pace yesterday. She has a lot of rain practice. I think has only done a handful of club races, but they've all been in the rain. So that's where she got her practice from. And she was pretty good yesterday. And again, today is just a whole different day with everything changing out there on the racetrack. But more and more drivers starting to get up there. You have Ava Blem, Green, Dean Guerrier, Edwards, Dustin Walker now inside of the top 10. Francisco Reyes, who was up there, fell back to 9th. So no idea what happened to Francisco Reyes, who showed really, really promising pace early on this one here, Cameron.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they're still a little bit bunched up, and so we could potentially see some more passes happen here soon. Green is looking pretty strong, though, in that 5th position. How do you pronounce that name? Guerrier?
I always say Guerrier. I could be saying it wrong. Again, for those of you at home, if you guys have something else, I'm always open to it. I'm going to be down at podiums for those of you guys who are still here. Come correct me. I'd like to know. I'm going to be doing this all year, so I'd like to at least say your name right the 6 times that you guys do see me throughout the year. I always think it's Guerrier, though.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, Guerrier is looking pretty quick, though. It looks like he could potentially run back down Green. But as we kind of talked about a little bit, consistency is very, very important. You could have one really good lap where you might close that gap a little bit. But if you're not able to stay consistent, Green might be able to hold that gap as much as he can. But Eva Blim was purple last time by just a few hundredths. So Meter and Blim have been able to pick up the pace a little bit and match Sawyer Chambers every single lap so far. They are all running 1:12.8s. So just a few hundredths are separating them per lap, but a pretty large gap is currently separating them. Around a 2-second gap or so separates your leader Sawyer Chambers and Meter and Blim in 2nd and 3rd.
Time is in their favor, though, with just over 6.5 minutes to go left in this race. They're closing in at a pretty good rate. a 112.8 compared to, Chambers is 113. It's definitely a good closing rate for these drivers halfway through this race. Now you see the 2.6 come in the air to mark the halfway point. So they're definitely starting to close. What cannot happen, though, here, Cameron, is that Levi Meter and Eva just cannot fight at this stage of the race. They need to keep pushing each other along. We've always talked about how kind of draft dependent and how train dependent this class has become over the years, and how, it's hard for one driver to pull away. Obviously, the rain adds a different variable, but two karts is always going to be stronger than one, and with them working together and just kind of helping each other, pushing each other along is always going to add a little bit more. It even puts the engines in an entirely different rev as well whenever you do have somebody, whenever you are following somebody in the draft and pushing somebody along. So we can't see these two drivers get together. They just need to keep it clean, need to keep it consistent, because they are closing right now. Eva Blem, fastest lap of the race for her, a 112.855. That was a couple laps ago, but a 112.9, that's very close to that time. So she's continuing to push, continuing to put more into it. And I really think that this is the ideal situation for the two of them to get back up to this kid up here that's leading the race.
Absolutely, and the discipline that you have to stay as that tail gunner and push, even though you might feel you're faster in some sections, is very hard to do. But knowing that you're faster together is very, very important, and that's what Eva Blem is doing. She's maybe sacrificing a little bit of time for herself, but she knows the only way that they can have a potential chance at catching Sawyer Chambers is if they work together. But Sawyer, he takes a quick look back and notices nobody's even in his realm, but he's still pushing already that lap. He was two tenths quicker than Meter and Blem, so he is still very, very fast out there. We see him kind of going back to the dry line slightly on entry. It is pushing him a little bit out wide on exit, but he's kind of moving away from that extra wide line that we've been seeing run all day, and it looks like he's kind of in an intermediate type of line where he's not fully on dry line, but he's definitely not pushing it as wide out as normal.
And that's exactly what you were talking about right there. You're seeing, usually when it's full wet, you see a lot of drivers kind of go all the way around, and he's kind of going just, in between a full dry line and in between a full wet line. And you see that here again, right? Usually everybody's out there on the rim of the racetrack going as wide as they can. And you see like differences as well, like we saw yesterday with Jose Carlos Hernandez and a couple of other drivers who were kind of hugging the curbs as they were going around. So those are just a couple of things that we're seeing kind of differently, but a pretty big battle there further back. You have the drivers in fourth starting to fight. Poloya there, who lost some time. Gene Guerrier there as well. 4 and 5 starting to battle, and they were wanting to work together, but I think this race is just falling away from them here at the moment as we look back in on the back straightaway.
Yeah, absolutely. Once everything starts to space out like this, it becomes very, very hard to have that discipline and really work together. You kind of see your chances of getting to the lead are slowly falling away as we're down to just 3.5 minutes left in this event. So I feel shortly we might see Eva Blem start to make a pass and see if she can't pick up that extra spot, as we don't believe they will have enough time to run down Sawyer Chambers. And I think that's also kind of what we saw with Guerrier and Poloya, just a little bit of impatience as they start to realize, okay, we might not have the pace to catch the group in front of me. Let's just pick up another position and see if I can't run away. And so that's what it looks like Guerrier has been able to do from Poloya. He's looking very, very quick on this machine. It looks like he might just have found his pace a little bit too late in this race.
Yeah, just, again, a little too late, right? You have to be there at the start, and again, picking and choosing your battles. If you want to battle, just all too early. Kind of forget about the win, right? So a lot of these drivers, again, a lot of first-timers, which we're very happy to see out here at SpeedSportz Racing Park, and we want to see them return. We want to see them come back, and it's been great, having this many drivers and getting into the double digits for the majority of classes as well this weekend. You kind of, we start to see more and more new faces every weekend here, Cameron. I know you're obviously a racer, but kind of look out and you see different people, different tents go up, and different families as well come into the sport. So that's always, I think, for me, the biggest part about it, and the most I guess satisfying thing for me as well, seeing more families get in it and seeing our sport grow as well, in our community here in Texas and Louisiana grow just a little bit more, where you see kind of more people come in. I really think that's the biggest thing to look forward to at every single event.
Yeah, absolutely. The sport is growing. There's no doubt about it, which is so amazing to see. And for all of you guys at home, the only way I could really describe this this paddock for you guys is packed to the absolute brim. I mean, there is barely inches out there for these trailers to be, which is such an amazing sight to see. We've always had really stout competition here at the TSRS series, but there's no doubt that this weekend we have the most drivers probably that we've ever seen, some of the most competitive classes, and it's just really great to see that more people are coming out and supporting the series and growing the sport. It's always great to see, and yeah, I think I'm glad to be a part of it, and I think you guys are as well. I think you guys have done a great thing for the sport, really getting eyes out there and providing a platform for all these guys at home to watch as we see Green and Paloya starting to work together a little bit, trying to get back up to Garrier for that 4th position. But we are under a minute left in this 206 junior final race. So not a lot of time left to catch, but we'll see if they can make something happen.
Yeah, they're firstly, thank you for that, Cameron, right? Yeah, these two drivers are doing a pretty good job of holding on to it. Levi Meter, Eva Blem, still a little ways back from Sawyer Chambers with just 30 seconds to go left in this race, plus 2 laps. 3 laps to go this time by little Sawyer now crossing the start-finish straight, and they're right behind him, but just not close enough to even put a challenge up to this kid who's been so impressive, and such a mature drive from him all weekend long as well, and as well as a couple of other drivers as well working their way through the field here. But just 3 laps to go, and again, the first round, we're back in quite some time. I think the next round is quite far away, and I have no idea where we're going for round 2. I'm not going to lie. We have such a busy year ahead of us. We're going to be back here for the Pro Tour. We talked about how busy it was here, and it's going to be slam-packed as well for that. The SCUSA Pro Tour is going to be one of the busiest events in a record-breaking event here as well at SpeedSportz Racing Park. Me being from Houston, happy to see it. Happy to see coming to Texas as well, and you know, all the teams come out here. Like we like to say, the traveling circus, right? Going to make its way out here. We're excited to see it, but these kids as well have put on a really good show. What I like about this, you have a lot of drivers, a lot of families coming out here, popping up their tents, a lot of privateers as well, which is what we like to see, that our sport is very, very healthy today. So we go around, enough of a waffling, I would say, and 2 sticks in the air, 2 laps to go. Eva Blem, Levi Meter, the closest battle right now on your racetrack. The 2 of them still going at it, still fighting here. Less than a car length separates the 2 of them, and again, a good qualifying for Levi. Just the heat races didn't treat him all too nicely, and for Eva, just kind of missed the 8 ball a little bit compared to what Sawyer Chambers has had, and they're not even far off on pace whenever you look at the timing charts. Just the decision making, right, at the start of this race is what makes or breaks kind of the rest of it. And battling like this, again, 2 laps to go, got to get what you can, and they're going to fight for the 2nd spot on the podium here.
Yeah, as you see them going side by side again, Eva Blem trying to set up a nice over-under on Levi Meter. She just hasn't been able to make it happen just yet. She's definitely running a more narrow, sort of dry line than Meter. As you see them continue to stay nose to tail, going into turn 11, my fault, as she goes down on the inside, and she's able to make it stick. Eva Blem now gets moved to the 2nd position, but Meter is still there, still in contention as they head back down through 13, into turn 14. You see Sawyer for a brief second. She got a little bit sideways, but still able to make it stick. Kind of running an intermediate line, as we've discussed a little bit. Gets a small gap heading onto that straightaway, but Meter looks pretty good through this 1, 2, 3 section. We'll see if he's able to close up that gap heading onto this back straightaway for your final lap.
Running out of time here, Eva Blem, Levi Meter, the 2 drivers ahead, but for this kid, only 10 years old, the youngest junior in the field, who's moved up early, and again, you obviously talked about the decision going into that. That kid is driven like he's been doing it for quite some time, and again, he's been in the spotlight time and time again. You look back at the Summer Nationals where he was just so close to that first, or to one of those national race victories where he fell short, and then again at the Grand Nationals, an event that's so hard to win, and now he's here, going to race in junior this year, and it's going to be a hard task at hand for Sawyer, but I'm sure Charlotte going to be waiting for him in 2 weeks' time if they do decide to go out there, and he's going to take it by the horns, just like he's taken this weekend by the horns. And just last couple of corners here, Sawyer Chambers, so impressive. Only 10 years old, his first full race, or 2nd full race in junior here this weekend. He's driven flawlessly in the mixed conditions, and Sawyer Chambers comes across the line to win in Houston. Ice cold no celebration, just expecting it, right? Evo Blem across the line in second, Levi Meter, your top three here.
Yeah, absolutely. What a run for Sawyer. As you kind of talked briefly about his podium at Grands, they podium out the top 5. He even sat on pole for the final at Jacksonville for CKNA just a few weeks ago, back in early January, where he wasn't quite able to pull it through, but that was his first real junior race in the national level, and he just absolutely schooled some of those drivers. So great driver, and what a weekend for him, able to bring home the win. Eva Blim brings it home in second. We saw her and Meter go back and forth a little bit, but Meter will bring home third. Garrier in fourth, Green in fifth, Paloya in sixth, Edwards in seventh, Walker eighth, another Walker ninth, and Reyes will round out your top 10. Thomas Smith, who had a little bit of a run-in and a spin-out on that first lap, able to come back and pick up that 11th position.
Yeah, good thing to see him close this one out and get the best result possible. In 11th, Micah Massad to Presley Peterson. Back to Mia Johnson in 14th. And again, an up and down weekend for a lot of these drivers. A lot of stories as well in that one. This year, not the results. It's your starting grid coming up here in a couple of moments' time. So why don't we take some time and run down the grid, talk about the stories of some of those drivers and how they've kind of gotten on today. Aiden Rudolph, last minute entry. We talked about his kart getting put together Friday night to make it possible for him to race here in the main event, and he's close to going back to back on, wasn't even planned on racing here today. He's getting set to start alongside Jake French on the front row, two drivers that were teammates back in PSO karting. They find themselves together on row number 1. Preston Pico, the sophomore in this class, finds himself on row number 2 alongside Jose Carlos Hernandez, brought here with the Red Speed team. And again, has really put him up at the front, especially with a couple of heat race victories to his name. And Preston Pico as well. I mean, you see how he's grown so much in a breakout weekend for him. Reigning champ, Jesus Vasquez Jr. starting alongside his teammate and Landon Skinner. A lot of Trackside Karting Services GFCs up there at the front. You go back to James Overbeck on that Coyote machine with Ian Howell starting right alongside him. Dallas Sunlap and John Burke on his debut weekend on the TB kart starting on row number 5. Your top 10 starters back to Justin Music, Ibrahim Din, Cohen Summers, Hamza Ambar. Cohen with you guys this weekend, so wish him the best of luck as well. Kurt Goodson, Taylor Roddy, Duran, Fitz, Faulkner, and more. Find your favorite driver. 38 total with John Barry, Adrian Cruz on the back row, and a couple of drivers on the outside looking into a top 10 start. A lot of them looking to move in. Again, Peyton Phillips in this one as well, but it's been a long weekend, and this is the last one of the weekend, of the opening weekend. The fences are lined, all eyes on the racetrack. Jake French, Aiden Rudolph into the start box, green flag in the air. We are racing here in KA 100 Senior. A good start by everybody there, side by side all the way through. Landon Skinner, Jesus Vasquez working their way through in there as well. And out of the back straightaway we go for the first time here, Cameron.
Yeah, Aiden was able to get a nice little jump heading into turn 1, but Jake French is right there on his rear bumper. If there's anybody to show you how to drive at SpeedSportz, it's going to be Aiden Rudolph as he uses that curb to get him turned. Jake French running a little bit more of that wide rain line. I think this class, we have a few drivers off the racetrack, but they're able to get going. This is the class where you'll see a lot of different driving styles. As you see, Jake French went fully over that red curbing and was able to get in front of Rudolph as we head down into turn 11. Rudolph back on the inside. Kind of a slide job.
Oh, wow. Jose Carlos Hernandez picking up the leftovers, and Rudolph and French were going back and forth there to see who was going to take the lead of the race. And Jose Carlos took advantage, got through on the two of them, and there goes Aiden again to the bottom of the racetrack onto the curb using what Jake French was doing yesterday. So this is going to be a very, very fast-paced race from the start of it and all the way throughout it as well. So everybody leaving nothing out there on the racetrack and trying to take it all there, as well as Aiden gets tripped up there on the exit at turn number 3.
Guys, hey.
And Jose Carlos Hernandez. Oh, Jake French tries to make the move down on the inside. Hernandez still trying to hold it as he'll enter the next corner on the inside. Kind of forces Jake to take all the way to the grass. But they are still standing side by side. We see a small splash of water. James Overbeck running KA on a Coyote chassis. How about these guys coming down and supporting us all the way from Florida? So super thankful to have them here. It looks like John Burke is actually stalled out exiting turn 6 John Burke, a very, very good competitor here at the Texas Racing Series on his TB kart, is out of this race. Cohen Summers on your screen, running with me this weekend. Super, super grateful to have him. What a drive. It was a little bit of a difficult qualifying, but he has found the pace and is starting to pick up some spots in 16th position. Vasquez hits a little bit of a splash of water there. As you see, a lot of water still standing in that 1-2-3 section, but on the bumper of Overbeck, exiting turn 4 and 5, tries to get on the inside and going to run down his inside on the straightaway, see if he can't make a move heading into turn 6.
Overbeck and Jesus Vasquez Jr. side by side. This is the highest these two drivers have been all weekend long. Vasquez, again, qualified 20th. He's been chipping away at it all weekend long, trying to get up to the top of the field. And same thing for James Overbeck, qualified 15th, I think, and he's been slowly getting back up there in the mixed conditions. And, you know, for everybody as well, Aiden started up at the front, and you see how dirty his suit is. You see how, you know, hectic that start was for him as well. He's far back in 7th, not too far back, but considering where Jose Carlos Hernandez is and Jake French, who are kind of running away with it here. You look back at Vasquez as well in 3rd. This race is definitely going to be a long one for those drivers trying to work their way up.
Yeah, it's starting to spread out a little bit. Aiden probably a little bit frustrated as he did start on that front row. And as we kind of stated, if there's anybody who knows how to get around this racetrack, it's going to be Aiden, as he does a lot of time here. So he's looking to potentially get around Overbeck here shortly. But they could have just gone really low on pressures. Maybe there's not a lot of grip in these tires just yet. And as we kind of stated before, these tires are going to start falling off over time, as there's not a ton of puddles and a ton of water on this track. Rudolph gets a nice little bump there and able to get on the inside of Jake French. It looks like we might have an issue for Jake French.
Jake French, again, we saw gremlins for him earlier on in the weekend, and they come back to bite him here in the main event. Unfortunate for Jake French, who was really, really having, I think, one of the best weekends possible for him here at SpeedSportz Racing Park on the start of the 2025 year. So unfortunate for Jake French, but Rudolph continuing to make moves. Again, you saw John Burke's kart there on the exit at turn number 6. So a lot of drivers already out of this one, and a lot of them still in it. Overbeck up there, as well as Ian Howell, the next of the Jake French Racing machines. And again, difference in lines there. Thumbs up, and you see how happy these drivers are with each other. And obviously that was sarcastic by me, and I'm sure sarcastic there by Hayden as well. Just they want to get on with it. Jose Carlos is running away, as well as a couple of others. So 2 into the grass here right ahead of us on the front straightaway. But very, very hectic in the mid-pack. And then everybody else up front still fighting. And again, letting Jose Carlos and letting Jesus Vasquez get away here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we saw a little bit of back and forth there between Rudolph and Overbeck. I think that comes down to the frustration that Rudolph is having as Overbeck continues to try to send it on the inside of him when Hernandez is 3.5 seconds up the field. I think Aiden's pretty frustrated as he feels that there's no point in battling. Let's work together. Let's try to catch Vasquez, who's far enough ahead of us, not even to mention Hernandez, who's about 5 seconds ahead of Rudolph at the moment. We see Peyton Phillips on your screen there. A really, really rough weekend so far for Phillips. Wasn't able to get off the grid for qualifying. Had to start last in all of these heat races and is quickly making his way up through the field in P7. Catching up to this group, there is a bit of battling going on. I think we'll see him join this group shortly.
And again, with all those drivers going off track on the front straightaway, you see how much those puddles have grown also on that front straightaway. But what a drive by Peyton Phillips so far to get himself up to 7th. We've seen Alex Stanfield here go last to first a couple of times here at various different tracks and come from way far back up to the front of the field. And he's done a good job to get himself up there. Another driver, Dallas Dunlap, as well for the TB Kart Amarillo Kart Complex boys. He's doing a pretty good job so far here as well in partnership with Slipstream Racing to get himself inside of the top 10. And on what's, again, another full year of racing here for him. And he's done a good job to beat the lead TB Kart so far this weekend. But he's falling under fire to Peyton Phillips. Going to look for a move into turn number 11. Going on the inside, looking to get clear. And just a little too deep there on the brakes for Peyton Phillips to hold on to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we kind of mentioned previously, rough weekend for Phillips, but we know he has pace as he tries to send it in again on the inside. This time he's able to make it stick. So Peyton Phillips will move up to the 6th position over Dallas Dunlap. And now he will set his sights on the next one, who I believe is Howell in front of him, trying to get back up into that 5th position. And Overbeck just shortly ahead. Kind of following down the field, we see a ton of moves continuing to happen, side-by-side action. I think this is going to be a non-stop, back-to-back races. A lot of position changes Aiden has been able to stretch his gap a little bit over Overbeck, trying to run down Vasquez, but your top 3 are all pretty spread out at the moment.
Again, just very, very fast-paced race, right? It's very just go, go, go the entire time. You're full throttle the entire time. You're making moves. You're thinking this entire race, really, and you know, you don't have a second to even breathe. It almost feels like when you do have time, like Jose Carlos Hernandez out in front, like Jesus Vasquez, like Aiden Rudolph, to kind of start to plan your race, what you could do differently. It's going to be hard. Jose Carlos Hernandez is really, really good in conditions like this, where it's kind of that medium point. We saw him flourish in the rain yesterday, where he had a couple of good runs. Wasn't the best in the 4th heat, but again, he's doing quite all right here in this one to hold everybody at bay. And, you know, you talk about invasions with the Coyote guys, with Jose Carlos Hernandez coming over, flying him out over here as well from Mexico. He's spent more time in the U.S., I think, this year than he has at home racing Formula cars with the Alessandro's boys, and he's been very, very busy here, and it shows why they bring him to races like this, why he gets himself in the front and put himself at the right place at the right time. And you're seeing more and more drivers trying to get themselves to salvage something this weekend for Phillips as well. You got to think about the long game. You got to think about the championship. It's only round number 1, but you know, you can't get frustrated and go off the racetrack and you know, not finish a race. It's all about the drops. It's any point that you can get is very important, especially on opening weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Your biggest thing is you want to finish races. You can only win races if you finish races. So kind of taking some of those risky moves. Obviously, Phillips really, really wants this. We saw his teammate earlier in K, Junior, take the win. And so I think he has the pace. There's no doubt about that. He might just be getting a little bit antsy, and he feels he deserves to be up front, which is no doubt about. He definitely has the pace to be up front, and so we see him potentially trying to make something happen over Howell. How about Adrian Cruz, who moves up into the 10th position? He started on that back row. He had a lot of issues throughout the heat races. He passes Cohen Summers for that 10th position. Let's talk a little bit about him. Do you have any information about what those issues were earlier this week?
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Cruz, firstly in qualifying, I think he had an issue there where it wasn't too bad, and then throughout the heat races, found himself kind of, you know, in that mid-pack where we talked about it was so hard to work through the field and get yourself up in the field, and then you go off track here, and that's your entire race. You flood everything. You know, you obviously have the airbox cover, and again, that only does so much, but if you go through a puddle, that's just crazy. So for Adrian Cruz, got himself in a lot of incidents like that, and then again, mechanical DNFs as well, which I'm pretty sure were engine related for him. So to see him get inside of the top 10, I think is, you know, one of the coolest things as well. It's been just chipping away at it, and as well the progression of other drivers like Ian Howell, obviously with the high five guys last year, now this year over with Jake French. Just 2 karts under that tent, 2 karts under that operation, and the 2 of them have done a really good job. They were both in the top 5 throughout the heat races there as well, and they were happy about it. There's Adrian Cruz, and he's had a really good drive. Talk about one of our own as well, Jake Faulkner up inside of the top 10. That's a great drive by Jake to get himself up there, who started further back in the field as well. I think he was starting in the 20s, and now he's up inside of the top 10. He was one of those drivers who was on board we saw yesterday. Couldn't see anything going into the first couple of corners into the main event, and now he's in there getting creative, testing stuff out, and seeing what he can do, and as well a couple of other drivers further back. Santiago Duran, a rookie in this class, still running junior and running senior here at TSRS. His dad building his own motors for him, and again, up and down, learning curve, racing against drivers that are just that little bit more mature and just that little bit more aggressive as well here, and just learning from them has been, I think, the biggest thing from him, and obviously in partnership with the Red Speed team this weekend. What a debut for them as well to win one of the marquee classes this weekend. That would obviously be huge for them, and I'm sure Jonathan is on the fence line, nervous and happy at the same time right now.
Yes, and Jose Hernandez is still opening this gap from Vasquez Jr. with about half a second, 6/10 faster than Jesus Vasquez Jr. in that second position. So Hernandez, he's very, very quick. We see him running a lot more of a dry line, still having to crank that wheel to get the go-kart to turn. There's no doubt that there's not a lot of grip out there, but he's definitely running a more narrow line than what we see some of the other drivers doing. Vasquez still has a pretty healthy gap to Rudolph behind him, but I don't think he'll be able to run down Hernandez with only 3.5 minutes left in this main event.
Yeah, Jose Carlos Hernandez spoke to him on Thursday, and he was kind of talking about coming here and racing against some of the best that we have in the state of Texas. He, whenever he looked at the entry list, he was like, yeah, I was looking at the entry list, saw Jesus Vasquez Jr., saw James Overbeck, saw the best of the best that are always running up at the front whenever we run KA on the national side. The only one that I didn't see on there was Aiden Rudolph, and I know we're coming to his home state, and I wanted to race against him. Well, Jose, you got them all. You got them all here racing against you, some of the best that we have in Texas, and he's done a really good job to get out there ahead of everybody. Took advantage of the start, took advantage of all the fighting that kind of ensued at the start. An over-under movement turn number 6 has not looked back since, and this is exactly why they brought him here. We talked about, the Red Speed team bringing him out here to put that chassis at the front to promote that new team, and that's exactly what he's done this weekend and putting them up at the front. And he said, you know what, if it rains this weekend, everybody's in for a good one because I'm going to be out there, I'm going to be in the front, and then it's going to be hard to catch me once I do get out in front.
Yeah, what a drive. I mean, you see him trying a few different things here and there, but I think he's found a line that pretty much works for him and has allowed him to completely pull away from this pack. He's got about a whole straightaway of a gap from Vasquez, and Rudolph and Vasquez are a little bit closer, but still not a lot of contention going on for those top 3 spots. We see a little bit more going back and forth between Phillips and Overbeck, as it looks like Peyton Phillips has been able to overtake Overbeck as we cross the line here. Dallas Dunlap starting to fall a little bit back off, but Peyton Phillips' drive is not over. Like we said, we are running out of time here with under 2 minutes plus 2 laps to go. We'll see if Peyton Phillips can make anything happen. But last time by, he was just a little bit quicker than Aiden Rudolph.
Yeah, just that little bit. Phillips, again, you were talking about him earlier. For him to start so far back, and where the qualifying didn't go his way. He was the driver to beat on the Friday. Everybody had their stopwatches on this kid. The 907 Arcade Motorsports machine, new team. A lot of news this year, and just not the start that he would have wanted. As issues for one driver, and I think that looks like Adrian Cruz. So unfortunate there, and again, just the bad luck continues for Adrian. Santi Duran getting himself up inside of the top 10, but wow, Adrian Cruz just cannot catch a break this weekend. And again, Peyton Phillips caught one just now, getting himself inside of the top 5, and for him to be able to just chipping away at it all weekend long. The heat races, honestly, to his standards, were terrible. He was supposed to come up and announce with us as well this morning, and he said he didn't want to because he was just so stressed out with everything going on and just with everything going on this weekend. And it honestly worked to his benefit because he's in here racing for the top 5. And when you talk about championship drives, when you talk about the drives that you remember at the end of the year whenever the championship comes into play, this is one that he's going to remember. This is one that's going to mean the most as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of mentioned we have a long season ahead. Plus, with the Texas Sprint Racing Series, you do get a drop. For all of you guys at home who might not understand what that means, whatever your worst finish is over the season, that will then be deducted from your points at the end of the season to help to make the points a little bit more tight. And so for a bad weekend, such as what I had myself with a DNF, or kind of what we see with some of these very, very fast drivers who maybe aren't having the pace, like Landon Skinner in 17th. I'm not sure what happened there. He's normally up front. Like Adrian Cruz, who got spun there in turn 6, he was able to get back going. But these could potentially be drop races for some of those really, really fast drivers who the rest of the season we'll see them up front and have much better finishes, especially Jake French, John Burke. If they continue to run the whole season, very not fun weekend for them as they have DNFs. But I think this could potentially be a drop, and they could still be in the championship hunt come the end of the season.
And again, for these drivers, for Vasquez, who's set to run the full season in the KA category, and not so much for Rudolph. Not sure if he's what the plans are after this weekend, what they have planned after a good result for them nonetheless. But again, for everybody in this championship, you have a new factor this year, a new driver, a new team that it seems to be working very, very well together. Jose Carlos Hernandez and that OTK package has definitely come to life here in the rain, and he's definitely been the class of the field today, putting a big, big gap on the field. 7 seconds for Jose Carlos Hernandez in that Red Speed team. He's still in the lead of this race. Vasquez in second, Aiden Rudolph, those two drivers who shared a championship last year and fought week after week, race after race. They were always the top 2, and you see why they fought for a championship. But this year, there's a new kid on the block, and again, year after year, we have more and more kids that start to join us, and drivers that continue to join us. It was Vasquez in 2023 at the end of the year, and it was him last year coming from California. This year, it's Jose Carlos Hernandez. in partnership, obviously, with the Orsalon team and the Red Speed team. They're bringing him out here, want to promote this chassis, want to promote this brand, want to promote this team as well here this year in the state of Texas. And if we're going to see him a whole lot more, you better hope it's not going to rain here, Cameron, because Jose Carlos Hernandez, an absolutely flawless drive on this Sunday afternoon to end the main events on a high. And what a debut weekend as well for the Red Speed team. Around the last two corners, Jose Carlos Hernandez looking around, can't see anybody else in sight. He's a winner for the first time. Debut weekend for Red Speed. They're winners in Houston. Across the line in second, Jesus Vasquez Jr. and Aiden Rudolph. Your podium, black and checkered flag. Provisional results, but what a drive by Peyton Phillips and what a drive by James Overbeck and everybody else inside of the top 10 to salvage a couple of good results. But Peyton Phillips, seriously, honestly, in my book, driver of the day, making up all those positions and getting himself inside of the top 5. That's a championship drive right there.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of heavy movers. Honestly, you have to give it to Peyton. He kind of saved this weekend. If you kind of looked at what happened in qualifying, not being able to get up the grid, starting in the back at some of those heats and maybe not getting up as far as he would have liked, he really salvaged this weekend and ended up with a lot of points with that P4 position. This could potentially not be his drop race. This gives him a little bit of room in case something really bad would unfortunately happen, which we don't wish upon anybody here. We want everybody to finish these races, but salvaging this weekend and getting that P4 finish allows for a little bit more room for error. God forbid anything were to happen. But here is your top 15, rounding out the KA Senior main event here in Houston.
Yeah, what an opening weekend as well from all of us here at Kart Chaser. It's been up and down for everybody here at the track, to the TSRS officials, to the sponsors. We'd like to thank all of you for making this possible, for our entire crew, for weathering the storm, for the TSRS crew, for Alan Rudolph and his entire crew here at the track for making this possible and putting this on for all of us. But what an opening weekend, and I'm sure we're in for a lot more this year, Cameron. Thank you for joining us. I know our little guy, Alex, is out sick today, but thank you for coming in with us and sharing some good races here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a pleasure to get up on the booth and hop on the mic. And like I said, you guys have done such a great thing for the sport. So always glad to hop up here and be a part of the team and anytime. But yes, we're in for a really great season ahead. And I think it's great to have as many competitors as we did this weekend. Some new drivers, as you said, who came in and asserted their dominance. And so I think that it should be a really, really good season ahead. As you see one cart there loading up onto the crash cart, headed back in. So not the best weekend, cold, very, very wet, but all around great weekend here in Houston, and excited for the next one.
Yeah, new faces, new race winners, new everything here this year. Some new tracks as well on the schedule. We're excited to have you guys here with us for the opening round of the Texas Spin Racing Series. As always, my name is Caleb Viesca. Cameron Reed joined me here alongside me in the booth. A huge shout out to our crew as well. Riley Can, Brandon Simone, Taylor Burris, and Gabby Selden making it all possible for us, and Alexander Suro as well, who's out sick today. But a huge thank you from all of us here at Kart Chaser. We'll catch you guys at the next one. Thank you very much for joining us.